Chapter 1781. On a stretch of lush grassland. Clatter, 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 Unlin held a spatula in one hand and a frying pan in the other as he stir-fried the rabbit meat. Su Xiaolan sat off to the side with a faint smile on her face as she looked at the man who was completely focused on stir-frying. Add dried chili, ginger, immortal oil. The rabbits here were extremely adorable and plump, so the aroma produced by the stir-frying was especially rich. Coupled with Unlin's heavenly court chef god-level cooking skills, this spicy rabbit pudding was extremely tempting to him. White Spirit Snake, the battling Buddha, and the others also gathered around to look at the dish in the frying pan with anticipation in their eyes. Senior Unlin is so awesome. He's so good at everything, even stir-frying. White Spirit Snake smacked her lips as she stared at the rabbit dish in the frying pan with a scorching gaze. The battling Buddha was also very intrigued. Even though I don't need to eat anymore, I still feel like eating this dish is a form of enjoyment. Mr. Unlin, how about you give me a portion as well? I can eat meat after becoming a Buddha? Unlin was a little surprised. Even monsters can be eaten, so why can't I eat rabbits? The battling Buddha replied nonchalantly. Unlin had no response to that. Blue sky, white clouds, grassland barbecue. What a wonderful combination. Everyone was feeling extremely relaxed and carefree. A delicious aroma wafted through the air over the grassland. A little white rabbit about 6 meters tall appeared in the distance before bouncing over to Unlin's side and squatting on the grass as it stared at the spicy rabbit dish in the frying pan with its round, pink eyes. No one paid it any heed. This bite-you-to-death rabbit only had a combat prowess of 5. Even if there were 10,000 of it, it wouldn't pose a threat to them. The bite-you-to-death rabbit took a whiff, and its entire body trembled as the aroma wafted into its nostrils. Unlin couldn't bear to see this. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself when I saw these adorable rabbits. You don't have any siblings among them, right? The bite-you-to-death rabbit shook its head. I don't have any siblings. Unlin breathed a sigh of relief. This way, even if he fried the same species as the rabbit, it probably wouldn't collapse too much. Unlin continued to stir-fry. His dish was about to be completed. The rabbit pondered for a moment and suddenly said, "It smells so good, can you share some with me?" Swish! Unlin almost threw the spatula. What? Unlin was shocked. Everyone stared at the rabbit in shock. I said, "The rabbit meat you fried is very delicious. Can I have some?" Bite-you-to-death rabbit repeated. You're also a rabbit. You actually want to eat your own kind? Unlin had originally thought that the rabbit was here to criticize him for stir-frying rabbit. He didn't expect that the rabbit would actually want a share of the spicy rabbit meat. This is not my kind. Bite you to death if you don't submit. Rabbit shook its head. I'm called Bite you to death if you don't submit rabbit. They're called Little White Rabbit. Our names are different, so how can we be the same species? Besides, I'm so big and they're so small. It's obvious that we're not the same species. Unlin's mouth gaped open. Su Xiaolan and the others were all astonished. What a logical genius! But aren't rabbits herbivores? Lu Qianhuan was still perplexed. That's because the little rabbit is herbivorous. I'm the bite-you-to-death rabbit. If I don't eat meat, how am I supposed to kill the animals that don't like me? The rabbit replied with a serious expression. Everyone was convinced, but there aren't many spicy rabbit meat here, and I have to share it with my friends. Why do you want me to give you spicy rabbit meat? Unlin asked with a hint of a smile on his face. The rabbit faltered upon hearing this. This was indeed a very important question, unless you tell me where the treasures are hidden in this small world. Unlin smiled before adding, We won't take your treasures, we'll just take a look, Su Xiaolan. However, the rabbit shook its head. There are no treasures in this small world, as there isn't enough spiritual energy in this world. There aren't even any spirit-rank treasures here. Everyone was dumbstruck upon hearing this. Why did Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo set up such a high-level restriction in this world? Everyone thought that this was an extremely high-level set of ruins. Unlin used his divine sense to detect the rabbit's true emotions, so he knew that it wasn't lying. There really weren't any treasures in this small world. Then, what do you have to exchange for this delicious rabbit meat? Unlin didn't give up. He looked up at the rabbit with his holy flame. The rabbit paused for a moment before replying. This small world was used by heavenly monarch Bei Luo to imprison a powerful enemy of the spirit tribe. I can take you to see her. She's very beautiful with fair skin, long legs, large breasts, and a pretty face. You should like her. Can I exchange her for rabbit meat? Gasp! Unlin's flesh crawled upon hearing this. This was a King death sentence. Unlin quickly came to his senses before turning to the celestial maiden in a jade dress. Xiaolan, what do you think? A faint smile appeared on Su Xiaolan's face. Don't be so nervous. I trust you. It's rare for us to find some clues, so let's go and have a look. Black Spirit Snake's brows furrowed slightly. The place where heavenly monarch Bei Luo imprisons his enemy is most likely the most important place in this world. You're willing to sell heavenly monarch Bei Luo for a spicy rabbit meat? I told you when you appeared just then that I'm only a tour guide in this world. I don't have the ability to sell out heavenly monarch Bei Luo. The rabbit chuckled coldly. I wanted to beat you up because you were talking about robbing me in such a righteous manner. However, I've thought things through now. There's nothing good in this world anyway, so you can do whatever you want with it. Unlin didn't give in. Instead, he spoke with a serious expression. You're taking us to the place where heavenly monarch Bei Luo's enemy is imprisoned? You've sold out heavenly monarch Bei Luo. Alright, I'll admit it. I've been guarding this small world for tens of thousands of years, so what's wrong with selling out heavenly monarch Bei Luo just once? The rabbit spoke with a resentful expression. He said that he would come back to see me once every 1,000 years at most, but it's already been the 36,000 years, and he still hasn't come back. He's betrayed me so many times, so why can't I betray him just once? The battling Buddha was dumbstruck. What the hell are you talking about? In any case, the deal was happily concluded. Bite you to death, rabbit, and the others enjoyed the spicy rabbit meat together with Enlin and the others. The rabbit was in tears as it ate the delicious food, and it bluntly stated that everything it had eaten in the past was sh*t, and it was Enlin who had given it a new meaning to live. After everyone enjoyed the spicy rabbit meat, the rabbit skipped ahead of Enlin and the others to find the enemy imprisoned by heavenly monarch Bei Luo. Everyone passed through the forest. The little rabbit bounced about, causing the ground to tremble. Finally, it jumped into the void ahead, stirring up a wave of ripples before disappearing without a trace. Enlin's expression shifted. So there's an enchantment spell formation here? It looks like it's a very high-level enchantment spell formation. I didn't even notice it with my consciousness. Even though he had only taken a cursory glance at it at the time, that was enough to show just how extraordinary this enchantment spell formation was. Enlin began to walk into the spell formation, and a burst of ripples surged forth, as if he had sunk into the water. The scenery around him then began to change, and he arrived at a beautiful valley. There was a waterfall hanging in the distance. There was a lake that was as clear as a mirror. There was also an extremely intricate-looking little house that had been constructed beside a mountain. The rabbit pointed at the house with a paw. That beautiful woman is in there. Enlin followed along with a peculiar expression. Chapter 1782. Enlin surreptitiously unleashed his divine sense to survey his surroundings. His targeted divine sense finally discovered that this place was different. There was an extremely fearsome formation here. Not only was this formation set up based on the terrain, but it was also an earth-shattering formation that had been set up based on the entire heaven and earth. This beautiful place was the core of this world, as well as the core of the formation. All of its power was being used to repress a certain power within the formation, and that power was located in the little house beside the rabbit. Most importantly, Unlin's divine sense swept over the little house and discovered the energy that had been repressed. However, he didn't discover any life forms, which was very strange. Unlin and Su Xiaolan were a little cautious, but they were also a little curious as they made their way toward the little house. "Are you sure that one of Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo's enemies is in this little house?" Unlin asked. He was quite interested in this so-called spirit tribe. If he was not mistaken, Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo's tribe was not in the Tai Chu continent. Instead, it was in a world outside of the Tai Chu continent. "That's right, she's in this room." The rabbit nodded before shrinking down to the height of an adult human. It opened the door and skipped into the room. Everyone followed along with curiosity. The interior of the room was decorated in a quaint yet elegant manner. There were wind chimes ringing outside the window, and there was an unfinished landscape painting on the table. Unlin looked around at the empty room with a perplexed expression. "Where is she?" "Don't worry, she's here." The little white rabbit hopped over to the dressing table, picked up a white energy bead, and swallowed it in one gulp. Unlin faltered momentarily. He suddenly discovered that this energy bead seemed to be the source of the repressed energy. A white light then erupted from the little white rabbit. The blinding white light caused everyone's vision to falter for a split second. Regardless of whether it was Lu Qianhuan or Black Spirit Snake or the Battling Buddha, both of them were given a fright by this blinding light, and they all pulled out their weapons. However, Unlin instantly switched over to his consciousness form and was greeted by an astonishing sight. The little white rabbit shone brightly, and its body began to elongate, revealing its exquisite and perfect body. Her white and tender skin seemed to be able to squeeze water out of it. Her slender and well-proportioned thighs were tightly pressed against the ground, and her delicate toes were lightly tapping on the ground. Her plump and perky breasts were as moist as cherries, extremely alluring. Unlin was stunned. But soon a white dress covered her body. When the light dissipated, everyone finally regained their vision, and they were dumbfounded. An extremely beautiful woman appeared in front of them. Her white dress accentuated her slender waist, impressive breasts, curvy buttocks, and long legs. Her jet-black hair cascaded down to her waist, and there was a red mole at the side of her peach-colored eyes. Her thin and moist lips were slightly raised, and her smile was pure and charming. "Hello, I'm Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo's rival. You can call me Rabbit Maiden if you don't like me." "Unlin, everyone, I feel like my intelligence has been severely insulted." Su Xiaolan spoke expressionlessly. So when this rabbit said it could take us to see Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo's rival, it was actually going to take us to see itself? Lu Qianhuan drew a sharp intake of breath. "My golden eyes, fiery eyes can't even tell that it's a rabbit monster." Sun Wukong gritted his teeth, and he suddenly wanted to bash this rabbit monster to death with his golden-banded staff. Black Spirit Snake had already drawn her massive sword. "How about we eat some spicy rabbit meat again?" The woman instantly stumbled back a few steps in fear. "I'm not lying to you. I really am Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo's rival. Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo's rival probably can't even defeat my feed cow." White Spirit Snake was in disbelief. Right at this moment, Unlin stepped forward with a resigned expression. "Ahem. I'll hack you to death if you don't believe me. The Rabbit Maiden might be telling the truth." Unlin's words were undoubtedly very convincing, and everyone's desire to eat another spicy rabbit pudding immediately faded as they turned to look at Unlin with confusion in their eyes. Unlin continued, "There's a heaven and earth formation here that can restrict her power, which is why she's so weak." The woman in the white dress looked at Unlin gratefully and nodded as she explained, "This world has restricted my power. In this place, I can only entrust my power to the bead and become a semi-free rabbit to play in other places." "That's a good move," Lu Qianhuan exclaimed. Su Xiaolan's brows furrowed slightly. "So you're Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo's enemy anyway, so you're not pressured to betray him? And you even freeloaded our spicy rabbit meat for free?" The rabbit maiden blushed as she intertwined her fingers with Enlin's as she glanced at Enlin. You can't say that. I'm sure you don't mind having my mouth on you, right? She winked at Enlin as she spoke. She knew that Enlin was the leader of this group, so all she had to do was curry favor with Enlin. Enlin flared up with rage. Xiaolan said you freeloaded our food, so that's what you're doing. Hurry up and apologize. The rabbit maiden. The rabbit maiden was forced into a corner by Enlin and the others, and she apologized to everyone for the spicy rabbit meat. So why did you trick us into coming here? Enlin asked with a content expression as he looked at the rabbit maiden who was bowing her head in apology. The rabbit maiden bit down on her lower lip. I've been trapped here for tens of thousands of years and I've had enough. I want you to get me out of here. The rabbit maiden poked her pink cheeks with a smile. As long as you get me out of here, I can satisfy any request of yours, no matter how unreasonable it is, he. Gasp. Everyone drew a sharp intake of breath. The rabbit maiden felt as if the air had suddenly cooled. Her instincts told her that if she continued to seduce Enlin like this, she would also become cold. She immediately corrected herself. Of course, I'm only a performer, not a prostitute. The rabbit maiden looked at everyone with a pitiable expression. If you don't believe me, I can also swear a heavenly Tao oath. Also, I may be useless now, but that's only because my power has been restricted. I am Heavenly Monarch Shi Ling of the Spirit Tribe, and in terms of combat prowess, I'm probably comparable to the weakest god of creation on your side. Enlin and the others were finally tempted upon hearing this. The assistance of a god of creation was quite tempting to them. Can I ask you to fight for me and the human race? Enlin asked. Su Xiaolan and the others also turned toward the rabbit maiden. They were also looking forward to hearing Enlin's words. Of course I can. If you get me out of here, I'll fight for you for 100 years. The rabbit maiden raised a finger. No matter who my enemy is, I'll be able to King kill them. I'll hack you to death if you don't submit. The rabbit maiden wasn't named for nothing. Besides, for the sake of freedom, fighting for 100 years was a far better deal than eating grass for tens of thousands of years in this godforsaken place. What a steal. All right, I agree. Enlin nodded. You have to swear a heavenly Tao oath first. The rabbit maiden was ecstatic to hear this, and her pink eyes lit up as she nodded. Deal. Chapter 1783. The rabbit maiden swore a heavenly Tao oath in front of everyone, swearing that if Enlin could help her escape, she would fight for the human race and swear loyalty to Enlin for 100 years. Enlin unleashed his consciousness to its fullest extent, and he could sense an inexorable connection passing through this world and fusing into a higher heaven and earth. If one dared to disobey the oath, their Tao heart would be severely wounded, and their Tao foundation might even be destroyed, thereby causing them to lose all of their cultivation bases. As such, they wouldn't dare to disobey the heavenly Tao oath. All right, that's the end of my oath. Can you help me escape now? The rabbit maiden looked up at Enlin with anticipation in her large, pink eyes. All right, what should I do? Enlin nodded with a smile on his face. The rabbit maiden, slice this world in half. Turn this world upside down. Enlin, wasn't that Black Spirit Snake's King's suggestion? Black Spirit Snake had almost inexplicably helped the rabbit maiden out. Thank God White Spirit Snake stopped her in time. You'll be able to escape if you turn this world upside down? Lu Qianhuan was a little surprised. That's right. The formation sealing me in this world is inextricably linked to this small world. If you destroy this world, a flaw will appear in the formation, and I'll be able to break out. The rabbit maiden spoke with an excited expression. What about the backlash from destroying this world? Enlin asked. The rabbit maiden heaved a forlorn sigh. Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo is afraid that I'll escape from this small world, so he's placed all the priority on me. As such, the backlash from destroying this world will also be focused on me, so you don't have to worry about that. If you suffer even the slightest bit of backlash, you can immediately stop destroying this world and give up on rescuing me," the Rabbit Maiden said. Unlin looked at everyone. "What do you guys think?" "Sure, let's give it a try." The battling Buddha was eager to try. Su Xiaolan, Black Spirit Snake, and the others had no objections either. Lu Mingxian took a deep breath. He felt like his time with Enlin had been far too exciting. He had battled Tao Integration Stage super mighty figures, battled the half-step God of Creation Stage Ancient Fiend Celestial, hunted Void Spirit Tribe powerful beings. And now, he was trying to destroy the world. Everyone walked out of this small world and scattered all over the world. Black Spirit Snake, White Spirit Snake, Su Xiaolan, Lu Qianhuan, Lu Mingxian, the battling Buddha, and Enlin stood in different parts of the world, looking down at the earth beneath their feet. Lu Qianhuan and Lu Mingxian summoned a rain of terrifying swords, which tore through the earth and pulverized the void. As the void crumbled, even the heavens began to tremor violently. Black Spirit Snake drew her massive sword and slashed it toward the ground. The golden sword light fell from the sky, stretching for hundreds of miles, and it was unknown how deep it was. As if it was cutting tofu, it tore the entire earth in half. White Spirit Snake swept her yin and yang swords through the air like a full moon, and yin and yang instantly reversed as heaven and earth twisted and turned upside down. It was as if everything had been inverted before being destroyed. The battling Buddha extended his golden-banded staff to a length of over 1,000,000 feet, and he stirred heaven and earth with all his might. A gentle sweep of his staff could flatten over 1,000 hills, and a ferocious jab into the ground would create a bottomless pit, triggering an apocalyptic earthquake. Su Xiaolan's sword fell like a vermilion bird, incinerating heaven and earth. Enlin was also using fire with her. Enlin had unleashed all 7 of his holy flames, using heaven and earth as his furnace to incinerate everything within heaven and earth. The flames were so terrifying that they were about to blow up the furnace that was heaven and earth. The destructive energy quickly swept through every corner of the world. The earth was cracking and crumbling, and the heavens were weeping blood. Extremely terrifying power of this world surged toward a certain place in a frenzy. The Rabbit Maiden stood at the center of the storm, and her white dress billowed in the wind, revealing a pair of snowy white legs. Upon closer inspection, one would be able to see a series of crimson lines appearing on her legs, and they were becoming more and more obvious. She silently put on a pink rabbit mask, from which blood seeped from the edges of the mask and flowed down her chin, down her slender neck, and even stained her curvaceous body. Ha! Finally! I've finally succeeded! The Rabbit Maiden spread open her arms, and countless crimson lines quickly spread outward with her at the center. They were like a spider's web, and they soon covered the entire valley before striking an invisible barrier. It was as if they had encountered some kind of bottleneck, and they were unable to advance any further. Core suppression formation, break for me! The Rabbit Maiden let loose a clear cry as energy erupted from her body. An extremely sharp light burst forth from the crimson line, threatening to pierce through all things and break through all things. Nothing could stand in its way. Kacha bam! The transparent barrier was shattered. Enormous power surged into the Rabbit Maiden's body like a vortex in the air above the small world. Enlin was just incinerating space when he suddenly heard a gentle female voice. "All right, I've succeeded." Enlin immediately withdrew his divine technique upon hearing this before flying toward the Rabbit Maiden. Su Xiaolan, Black Spirit Snake, and the others also stopped destroying the world and flew toward the forest. Soon, they were greeted by the sight of a smiling woman who had removed her mask. You don't look like you've changed much." Su Xiaolan's eyes shimmered. "I'm clearly a lot cuter." The Rabbit Maiden pursed her lips into a smile. "Can't you see my ears?" The woman's pristine, white, furry ears trembled slightly. "Oh!" Everyone let loose cries of surprise. The Rabbit Maiden turned around and wiggled her little pink fur ball. Look, I have a beautiful tail. Oh! Everyone let loose cries of surprise again. The battling Buddha gripped his staff tightly with excitement in his eyes. However, Unlin could tell from his powerful consciousness that not only had the rabbit maiden changed her appearance, there was a power within the rabbit maiden's body that struck fear into even his heart. The rabbit maiden clasped her hands together and bowed deeply to everyone. Thank you for your help, everyone. I'll never forget what you've done for me. Unlin's lips twitched. I think it's better for you to call me Heavenly Monarch Shiling, otherwise, I'll always feel like you're from the Black Serpent Society. Alright, I'll be whatever you say, Big Brother Unlin. The rabbit maiden turned to Unlin with a sweet smile. Then I'll call you Little Rabbit from now on. Little Rabbit sounds good. Unlin's eyes lit up with excitement. Everyone. The rabbit maiden drew a sharp intake of breath. Didn't you say it would be easier to call me Heavenly Monarch Shiling? Little Rabbit is easier to call, Unlin replied. You just said you'd be whatever I say. The rabbit maiden's flesh crawled upon hearing this. Can't you tell that he's trying to be a compliment? The woman forced a smile onto her face and nodded in a gentle voice. Little Rabbit sounds pretty good too. Then I'll call you Little Rabbit from now on, Lu Qianhuan sighed with emotion. From a rabbit that would bite you to death to a rabbit, it's such a heart-wrenching transformation. It's not a heart-wrenching transformation. Unlin interjected. The rabbit maiden was gritting her teeth with a wide smile. Chapter 1784. The rabbit maiden forced herself to calm down before a gentle smile appeared on her face. Big Brother Unlin, this world has become unstable. Let's get out of here as soon as possible. Alright. Unlin nodded. Sun Wukong was a little disappointed. Are there really no other treasures in this world? He had guarded these ruins for over a dozen days, but there was nothing left? Sun Wukong was so shocked by the reality that he started to doubt his monkey life. Isn't the greatest treasure me? The rabbit maiden skipped over to Sun Wukong as an extremely sweet smile appeared on her face. Are you still not satisfied with a treasure like me? If any other living being were in her shoes, they would probably have been completely bewitched by her adorable appearance. Sun Wukong gripped the golden-banded staff tightly before heaving a forlorn sigh. The treasure isn't mine, it's Unlin's, Unlin replied with a serious expression. No, Little Rabbit is the treasure of the entire human race, and even the entire Tai Chu continent. It doesn't belong to me. A warm smile appeared on Su Xiaolan's face. Well said. Little Rabbit scratched her ears with a perplexed expression. How did this suddenly escalate to the level of the entire Tai Chu continent? How strange, she was only Unlin's lackey. Even though she was fighting for the human race, what enemies did the human race have? What enemies did Unlin have? Even if Unlin was a Tao integration stage super mighty figure, she was a god of creation, so it would be a piece of cake for her to take care of Unlin's enemies. With this in mind, the rabbit maiden felt a lot more at ease, and a genuine smile appeared on her face. I'm finally free. My life from now on is going to be very beautiful. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, one figure after another flew out of the gate of light. You're finally back. The demonic frost star twirled around in circles with elation. Look, these are the enemies I kept at bay for you after you went in. There were several dozen Void Spirit Tribe powerful beings outside the ruins that had been frozen into ice sculptures. Unlin smiled. Well done, little star. It's all thanks to Master's instructions. The demonic frost star chuckled. It had already adapted to its current role perfectly. It turned toward everyone and let loose a cry of surprise. Who is she? Oh, let me introduce you. She's my fighter, Little Bunny. This is my servant, Little Star, Unlin introduced. Hello, I'm Little Star. Hello, I'm Little Rabbit. The demonic frost star and heavenly monarch Shiling looked at each other with tears in their eyes. It was a very touching scene. In fact, Unlin could even see an expression of sympathy on their faces. Wait, is there something wrong? Little Star, What was your previous name? It is called the Demonic Frost Star. Good name. Little Bunny, what was your previous name? Heavenly King Shi Ling, Domineering. Good name. For some reason, the Demonic Frost Star and the Rabbit Maiden soon became quite animated. Lin was very pleased to see this. They were able to converse without any awkwardness because of their names, which proved that the names he had come up with were quite useful. During the next few days, Lin and the others continued to hunt down Void Spirit Tribe powerful beings. Due to the addition of the Battling Buddha and the Rabbit Maiden, their lineup had become even more fearsome. In particular, the Rabbit Maiden was trying to show off her abilities. In order to showcase her abilities, she even killed a Soul Formation stage enemy from over 1,500 kilometers away with a single spit, thereby allowing Lin to witness just how terrifying the power of the weakest god of creation stage cultivators could be. After 5 days of continuous hunting, they had slain 3 Return to Void stage mighty figures, several dozen Soul Formation stage powerful beings, and countless Void Spirit Tribe powerful beings below the Soul Formation stage. However, they didn't encounter even a single Dao Integration stage super mighty figure. Perhaps they had received some information in advance, so they had all fled. And Lin didn't mind. He had already reaped a bountiful harvest during this trip to the spirit realm. In contrast, the Void Spirit Tribe had lost close to half of their top-notch combat power, so they probably wouldn't dare to do anything in the near future. The exit to the spirit realm of the Divine Lake realm was a purple vortex. The Rabbit Maiden took a disappointed glance at the spirit realm behind her before following behind Lin and the others and quickly disappearing into the vortex. Above the frozen lake, a few powerful figures descended upon the lake. All of the spirit beasts stationed here let loose cries of elation. Look! Empress White Spirit Snake and Black Spirit Snake are back. The Battling Buddha, Lin, and the Divine Phoenix Maiden have also returned safely. My god, even Lu Qianhuan and sect leader Lu Mingxian are back. All of the spirit beasts let loose cries of surprise, but most of them were joyful congratulations. Wow! Is this the Tai Chu continent? The beautiful woman with rabbit ears and rabbit tail opened her bright pink eyes and looked around curiously. She took a deep breath and sighed, as expected of the main continent. The spiritual aura is so abundant. And Lin only came to his senses now. She wasn't a living being from this continent. He wanted to meet Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo because he wanted to learn more about the world outside of the Tai Chu continent. Now, he had a chance to ask her. Black Spirit Snake and White Spirit Snake bade farewell to Lin and the others. They had to report the results of their mission to Nuwa. The Battling Buddha also bade farewell to everyone before departing on a cloud. Lu Mingxian made his way over to Lin with an awkward and apologetic expression on his face. Sect leader Lin, it's about time for me to go back. Thank you again for your help. As for what happened in the past, alright, that's enough. Lin interjected with a smile. We're comrades now, and we have a common enemy. There's no need to stand on ceremony when it comes to helping each other. Lu Mingxian faltered slightly before a rare smile appeared on his face, and he nodded. Alright, I'll be taking my leave now. He extended a salute toward Lin before turning to the beautiful woman beside him with a gentle expression. Huan, I take back what I said. It's great that you're able to stay at the 4-9 Immortal sect. A vibrant smile appeared on Lu Qianhuan's face. Of course. This was the best decision I made all those years ago. Lu Mingxian couldn't help but smile when he saw his daughter's reaction. Ever since Qiu Hong's death, father and daughter had never smiled together in the past 100 years. At this moment, the two of them looked at each other and smiled under the sunlight. It was as if the snow had melted in the spring, and it was as beautiful as a painting. Lin, Su Xiaolan, and the others all sensibly chose not to disturb this father-daughter moment. They caught a few ice flower skates from the lake before cooking some fish soup in a frying pan. The ice flower skate was a specialty of the Spirit Lake realm. Its meat was tender and succulent, and it was extremely delicious. The rabbit maiden stared at the fish in the frying pan, and she rubbed her little hands together as she drooled. If the heavenly Tao oath was the objective reason why she stayed by Enlin's side, then Enlin's lethal cooking was the subjective reason why she stayed by Enlin's side. The fish soup wasn't ready yet. Lu Qianhuan was already making her way over from afar. She could tell that Lu Mingxian had already left. Lu Qianhuan looked at Enlin and Su Xiaolan, who were happily cooking soup together, and her expression was a little dazed. At this moment, Enlin had already noticed her, and he waved at her with all his might. "Come over here. I saved a portion for you. This fish smells so good." A vibrant smile appeared on Lu Qianhuan's face as she looked at the man with clear eyes. "All right, I'm coming. I can't miss out on a chance to freeload from the chef god." Chapter 1785. Enlin, Su Xiaolan, Lu Qianhuan, and the rabbit maiden enjoyed the delicious ice flower skates before tearing open a spatial rift and returning to the 4-9 immortal sect. The rabbit maiden enshrouded everyone with a special soul power, allowing them to travel through space at a speed comparable to that of a god of creation, which was several times faster than Enlin and the others. Soon, an extremely majestic and imposing sect appeared in front of them on the grassland. There were tens of thousands of palaces, and iridescent light illuminated the entire sky. Atop a divine mountain, 9 divine halos of different colors extended into the heavens. This was the 4-9 immortal sect's 9 heavens trial venue. Bai Ling organized the sect disciples to stand outside the gate to welcome their sect leader's triumphant return. "Welcome back, sect leader Enlin. Sect leader's Tao intent is unparalleled, and his divine might is eternal." All of the sect disciples looked up at the man descending from the sky with scorching reverence in their eyes, and their words of praise rocked heaven and earth. "Oh, Big Brother Enlin, are you really that impressive?" The rabbit maiden blinked her large eyes with amazement on her face. He really did look like a big brother of the underworld. Enlin was speechless as he looked at the smiling woman in the white dress, who was looking at him with her disciples. He had already told her many times not to welcome him like this, but Bai Ling would always get all of the core disciples to welcome him. Perhaps Bai Ling wasn't trying to welcome him. Instead, she was simply enjoying the process of teaching her disciples to welcome him. "My lord sect leader, you brought another person back? Aren't you going to introduce her to us?" Bai Ling placed her hands behind her back and leaned forward with a beautiful smile on her face as she feigned a pure and innocent look. "Let me introduce her to you. Her name is Little Rabbit and she's my guard." Enlin spoke to the beautiful and seductive woman beside him, who had her rabbit ears pricked up. "Oh, Little Rabbit, what an adorable name." "She has an adorable name, and she's also very adorable. To be able to become the sect leader's guard, she must be very powerful. Don't be fooled by her adorable appearance. Perhaps she could transform into a terrifying demonic sawtooth rabbit and tear apart Tao integration stage mythological beast." The disciples were in a heated discussion. The rabbit maiden immediately understood something when she saw that none of the disciples were amused by her name. There were probably many other people with similar names in the sect. "This is my new servant, Little Star." It was once the demonic frost star of the void spirit realm, Enlin said to the small star that was rotating gently beside him. The demonic frost star was currently the size of a basketball. Enlin didn't like how big it was, so he forcibly transformed it into this form. As soon as he said that, all the disciples exclaimed in surprise again. The demonic frost star was a vastly renowned being on the Taichu continent, and it had once been a powerful enemy of the Kingdom of the 9 States United Army. Who would have thought that their sect leader would be able to turn such a terrifying enemy into a servant after just one trip to the spirit realm? How terrifying! The disciples looked at Enlin with even more fervent and reverence. Enlin took the rabbit maiden and Little Star on another tour of the 4-9 immortal sect, where they also met the higher-ups of the 4-9 Immortal sect, as well as all of his beast pets and servants. Within a conference room that was decorated in an ancient style, the Rabbit Maiden sat obediently off to the side, and her pink eyes blinked as she surveyed everyone with curiosity. She discovered that everyone was very strange. There were all types of beings here, and all of them were very memorable. There was an extremely ugly monkey, a beautiful white fox, a handsome young master, a cold and aloof snow maiden, a sword cultivator with dark circles around his eyes, a super adorable little ball, a little flower, a little butterfly. All of these beings and all of these races were like a fantastical and bizarre group. Our sect now has a god of creation stage cultivator, and that's my guard, Little Rabbit, Unlin said in an indifferent voice. Xianyuan Qing, Su Qianyun, Tang Shimen, and all of the higher-ups were all astonished to hear this. They then turned to look at the woman sitting off to the side with astonishment etched on their faces. She's the weakest god of creation stage cultivator. The Rabbit Maiden made a peace sign and stuck out her little pink tongue with a smile on her face, but there was still a hint of pride on her face. She's still a god of creation stage cultivator. She's a bad *SS, who can crush all beings below the god of creation stage. Tang Shimen's face was flushed with excitement. The others were also amazed. At the same time, they also felt proud. They were all people who had integrated into the sect. It could be said that the top combat power of the sect could be promoted to a higher level. It could be said to be very happy and excited for them. Su Qianyun blinked her dreamy blue eyes. Who would have thought that such an adorable big sister rabbit would be so powerful as well? Keep Little Rabbit's combat prowess a secret for now. She can be one of the trump cards of our sect, and she can deal a critical blow to our enemies when the time comes, Unlin said in a solemn voice. Everyone nodded. The Rabbit Maiden placed her hands on her soft legs and listened to everyone's praises and exclamations. Her ears twitched lightly with a smug and proud expression. She was already one of the most powerful beings in the sect, so she wouldn't even need to participate in normal battles. Perhaps she wouldn't even need to do anything to protect Enlin for 100 years. Everyone was still discussing spiritedly among themselves, and the conference was quite lively. This was also the style of sect conferences. Haha, I'm really looking forward to seeing the heavenly human tribe suffer a crushing defeat at our hands. It's going to be so exhilarating. Tobias's eyes were burning with battle intent. I wonder who's more powerful between a god of creation and a heavenly god? Shangguan Yi mused. There's no doubt that Little Rabbit is more powerful. Flapping his little wings, Little Tian declared proudly, Master's guards are naturally invincible and invincible. Apparently, Little Rabbit is a powerful being from another realm. I wonder if a god of creation stage powerful being from another realm would suffer backlash from the heavenly Tao if they were to attack the heavenly human tribe. Bai Ling was still a little concerned. The Rabbit Maiden was quite confused as she listened to everyone's discussion. Wait, what's this heavenly human tribe? And what's a heavenly god? The Rabbit Maiden had been trapped in Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo's small world for a very long time, and she was feeling like she couldn't keep up with the times. You don't know? Xianyuan Qing was a little surprised. So you don't even know who Enlin's enemies are, and you're willing to become his guard? Bai Ling looked at the rabbit-eared woman with a sympathetic expression. Her heart ached for this powerful woman. Why was she so gullible? So what are these enemies you're talking about? The Rabbit Maiden's ears perked up, and her pink eyes widened. Su Xiaolan explained patiently, the heavenly human tribe is a tribe nurtured by the heavenly Tao, and they want to destroy all humans. The heavenly gods are the embodiment of the paramount power of laws of the heavenly Tao. All of them want to destroy the human race, and Enlin is their target. Boom! The hair on the Rabbit Maiden's body stood on end. Her pupils dilated momentarily before coming back to focus, and she stared blankly at Enlin. So, your enemies are actually the heavens? We're going to fight the heavens? Unlin nodded in an honest manner. Holy F***ck. The rabbit maiden's body swayed slightly, and she took a deep breath before clasping a hand to her chest. What the F***ck have I done? Chapter 1786. Why didn't you say so earlier? The rabbit maiden was on the brink of a mental breakdown. Unlin splayed his hands open. You didn't ask. The rabbit maiden had a mental breakdown, and she really wanted to slap herself a few times. How could she survive after going against the heavens? She did have freedom, but she could very well lose her life. I just want to ask, can we defeat those heavenly human tribe and heavenly gods? The rabbit maiden asked with an uneasy expression. Of course we can. Unlin waved a hand through the air. With your power, you can kill spirit refining stage, arcane body stage, soul piercing stage, and heaven pioneer stage heavenly humans at will. Even divine heaven stage heavenly human tribe cultivators can pose a threat to you if they unleash their full power. As for the heavenly gods, the powers of the heavenly gods are severely restricted on the Tai Chu continent. With your power, you should be able to handle normal heavenly gods. The biggest threat to you is the paramount heavenly gods. No one knows how powerful they are. The pride on the rabbit maiden's face disappeared upon hearing Unlin's words. Instead, a bitter expression appeared on her face as she mourned for her own fate. Don't be too pessimistic. Our sect leader is also very powerful. Many heavenly human tribe, heavenly gods, and heavenly gods have died at his hand. Lu Qianhuan offered words of consolation. The rabbit maiden's ears perked up. Really? A thoughtful expression appeared on Unlin's face. The heavenly gods that have died at my hands include the heavenly wind god, heavenly lightning god, heavenly goddess Linyu, heavenly mountain god, heavenly metal god, heavenly goddess Wu Ming, heavenly reality god, and heavenly illusion god. That's about it. The rabbit maiden and the others couldn't help but draw a sharp intake of breath as soon as they heard the words. Before they knew it, Unlin had already killed so many heavenly gods? The rabbit maiden stared at Unlin with shock and astonishment, clearly not expecting Unlin to be so capable. Was she overestimating the heavenly gods, or was Unlin just too powerful? In any case, the rabbit maiden's concern had subsided slightly. That's right, little rabbit, who had been mysteriously drawn into a battle with a heavenly god, had already accepted this cruel reality. The meeting was over. Unlin and Little Rabbit arrived at the peak of Full Moon Mountain and looked down at the magnificent sect. Here, one could see the vast Dragon Phoenix Lake, the sparring grounds where dazzling spells would erupt from time to time, and the pavilions that were scattered all over the place. The blue sky, the white clouds, the grassland, and the ethereal and lively sect seemed to have merged into one. The rabbit maiden sat on the edge of the cliff and swung her long, well-proportioned legs with a contented expression. Phew! It's actually quite nice to live here for 100 years. Actually, you can always stay here. Unlin smiled. The rabbit maiden rolled her eyes. You're overthinking things. I'm definitely going to leave in 100 years. The heavenly human tribe and the heavenly gods are so dangerous. My life is more important. This battle won't last for 100 years. Unlin sighed softly. Looking at the clear sky and feeling the peaceful atmosphere, he said softly, I have a feeling that very soon, this battle will end. Sigh, who would have thought that the 4 heavenly monarchs of the spirit tribe would have to battle the heavens one day. The rabbit maiden clasped her hands behind her head and lay down on a rock behind her. She looked up into the sky, and her white dress clung tightly to her body, inadvertently revealing her voluptuous and sexy figure. So, heavenly monarch Shi Ling, can you tell me what it's like outside of the Tai Chu continent? What's the deal with the spirit tribe outside of the Tai Chu continent? Unlin asked. The rabbit maiden shot a glance at Unlin. You asked me out just to ask this question? What else? Unlin turned to look at the rabbit maiden lying beside him. The woman was completely defenseless. Her slightly bulging breasts, her her slender waist, her casually bent and crossed long legs, and her bare toes were still swaying casually. Under the sunlight, they shone with a crystal-like luster. Everything was so harmonious and wonderful, and Lin was completely unable to tell that she was a spirit body. Instead, she looked more like a life form that had been fused with her consciousness and body. And Lin had felt the rabbit maiden's hand before, and it was soft and warm. Furthermore, it was a lot smoother than the average human's hand. Apparently, this was due to the fact that after attaining phenomenal success in soul cultivation, one's life force could be combined into one, thereby allowing one to switch between an ethereal and a physical body. According to our customs, we can't tell you about this. However, I can tell you in secret as long as you promise to keep it a secret. The rabbit maiden smiled. And Lin listened with rapt attention. The rabbit maiden continued in a slow voice, "Outside of the Tai Chu continent is a boundless realm of stars. You're very curious about the outside world of the Tai Chu continent, but living beings outside of the realm of stars are even more curious about the Tai Chu continent." "Why do you say that?" And Lin was perplexed. The rabbit maiden replied, "Because the Tai Chu continent is the center of the realm of stars. It is the most powerful and prosperous place in the entire realm of stars, with countless races and powerful beings," and Lin was astonished. Was the Tai Chu continent that bad *SS? I only know that in order to protect the Tai Chu continent, Pangu set up a paramount restriction on the outermost perimeter of the Tai Chu continent, which prevents almost all living beings from entering or exiting the continent. And Lin replied, "Protect the Tai Chu continent?" The rabbit maiden chuckled. "It's actually the other way around. It's to protect all living beings in the realm of stars outside of the Tai Chu continent. Any Dao integration stage being from the Tai Chu continent could bring disaster to all of the other planets. Look at you. You're just one of the 4 heavenly monarchs of the spirit tribe, but you're already so powerful." And Lin stared at the rabbit maiden with incredulity etched on his face. The rabbit maiden pointed at herself with a beautiful finger. "Me? Do you know who I am?" "You're my little rabbit," and Lin replied. The rabbit maiden, "Then I'll still be your little rabbit for 100 years. The rabbit maiden was enraged. Wait, why did I say that?" The rabbit-eared girl came to a realization and glared at the innocent Lin. "The spirit tribe is one of the 3 most powerful tribes in the entire realm of stars. I am one of the 4 most powerful beings in the spirit tribe, Heavenly Monarch Shi Ling." The rabbit maiden continued, "It could be said that I'm already standing at the pinnacle of this realm of stars." And Lin was astonished. So this adorable rabbit before him was this powerful? The rabbit maiden's ears fell limply onto the rock. "But I can't defeat Nuwa of the Tai Chu continent, Patriarch Zhu Yin of the Tai Chu continent, Tao Lord Lu Ye, the Heavenly Lord of Tao and Virtue, the Heavenly Lord of Numinous Treasure, the Blood Patriarch, and of course, I can't defeat the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning, Pangu. I can't even defeat the Spirit Patriarch, who's the worst at fighting." And Lin was a little distressed. "Is that why you say you're the weakest god of creation stage?" The rabbit maiden nodded. "Actually, my cultivation base, or rather, the cultivation base of the 4 heavenly monarchs of the spirit tribe, is the same as the god of creation stage that you speak of. However, don't think of me as a god of creation stage cultivator, and don't place too much hope in me. And Lin, there was no other god of creation stage being as self-abased as the rabbit maiden." Chapter 1787. The spirit race was one of the 3 great races of the realm of stars. The rabbit maiden was one of the 4 heavenly monarchs of the spirit tribe, but she was being thrashed by the gods of creation of the Tai Chu continent. It was no wonder that the Tai Chu continent was the center of the realm of stars. However, Lin wouldn't underestimate the rabbit maiden because of this. Different realms represented different levels of life. No matter how weak the rabbit maiden was, she was still able to crush all living beings below the god of creation stage. Even against a god of creation stage, she would be able to last for a while. Say, what's the relationship between your spirit tribe and the void spirit tribe? Unlin asked. The rabbit maiden replied, in essence, they're all living beings with divine sense bodies. The spirit tribe was more gentle and stable, while the void spirit tribe was more crazy and twisted. The spirit patriarch did a lot of research, and one of the most important aspects of this research was to improve this flaw of the void spirit tribe. However, it was quite clear that he had failed. The astrals are more stable? Unlin was deep in thought. He reached out and gently rubbed the rabbit ears of the woman beside him. They were soft and furry, and they felt good to the touch. He suddenly felt his rabbit ears stiffen slightly before the rabbit maiden glared at him with an enraged expression. My ears are very sensitive, so please remove your perverted hands, thank you. Unlin tactfully moved his hand away, feeling a little unsatisfied. As expected, the spirit tribe was a lot more gentle than the void spirit tribe. If he tried to do this to a void spirit tribe being, they would definitely pounce at him with no regard for their own safety. I've roughly understood the relationship between the Tai Chu continent and the realm of stars outside of the Tai Chu continent now. Even though the Tai Chu continent is in seclusion, it is still the most powerful realm of stars. The rabbit maiden nodded. That is indeed the case. In the eyes of all living beings in the realm of stars, the Tai Chu continent is a symbol of power and mystery. Unlin was still perplexed. Pangu's restriction is extremely powerful, so how did you get into our world from outside the Tai Chu continent? Could it be that the spirit realm of the void spirit tribe doesn't belong to the Tai Chu continent? We're illegal immigrants. A sly smile appeared on the rabbit maiden's face. You're right, the spirit realm doesn't actually belong to the Tai Chu continent. It's a passageway between the outside world and the Tai Chu continent. As long as we take advantage of the favorable conditions and use a god of creation stage power to attack the weakest point of the restriction, we'll be able to forcibly open a passageway. At the time, the spirit patriarch entered the spirit realm and even traveled around the realm of stars in order to improve the characteristics of the void spirit tribe. They've also done a lot of research on our spirit tribe and established a stable relationship with Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo and me. Everything was progressing in a good direction, but who would have thought? Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo trapped me and killed the spirit patriarch. The rabbit maiden clenched her fists tightly as she spoke. When I get back, I'll definitely settle this debt with him. Unlin shared the same hatred. Bring me along, I'll help you take revenge. The rabbit maiden faltered slightly before turning to Unlin with a vibrant smile on her face. Are you that kind? Of course. Unlin patted the rabbit maiden's shoulder. What's our relationship? The rabbit maiden was very touched. Unlin actually just wanted to go out and have a look, and the rabbit maiden could lead the way. Furthermore, he had karma to settle with Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo anyway. He had inherited the power of the spirit patriarch, so the person who had killed the spirit patriarch was half an enemy to him, so he could go and settle this karma. After that, Unlin and the rabbit maiden chatted for a while longer. He learned that the three most powerful tribes in the realm of stars were the Spirit Tribe, the Star Tribe, and the Ancient Tribe. The Spirit Tribe represented the pinnacle of consciousness life forms, the Star Tribe represented the pinnacle of the starry sky, and the Ancient Tribe represented the pinnacle of physical life forms. They ruled over a boundless realm of stars. Aside from that, there were over 100 powerful tribes and tens of thousands of different civilizations. The world was very, very big, and Unlin was filled with yearning. However, there was one thing that Unlin wasn't fooled about, and that was that the Tai Chu continent was indeed the most powerful continent. At the very least, it was the most powerful continent that the rabbit maiden knew of. The vital energy here is very pure, very pure. The rabbit maiden lay down on a rock with her eyes closed as she breathed in greedily. Not only that, but this place is also very rich in spiritual energy. This is the place where the creation of heaven and earth is the most concentrated. I can imagine just how mighty Pangu was. Unlin couldn't help but sigh with emotion. The more powerful he became, the more he was able to sense just how unfathomable Pangu was. He had seen many gods of creation, but he was still unable to imagine just how powerful Pangu was. Night fell. On the grasslands behind the 4-9 immortal sect. Boom! The earth suddenly tremored violently. A gargantuan palace appeared on the grasslands, exuding astonishing soul power fluctuations. Is this the Spirit Patriarch Palace? It's so spectacular. Su Qianyun's mouth gaped open with amazement on her face. Xianyuan Cheng looked up. Who would have thought, Unlin, that you would be able to refine this gargantuan palace? That's incredible! The Spirit Patriarch Palace was situated on the ground, and it was already half the size of the 4-9 Immortal Sect. One had to realize that the 4-9 Immortal Sect was no longer a small sect. It had been nurtured by a Grandmaster Construction Cultivator, and there was no end in sight. It was exactly because of this that everyone in the 4-9 Immortal Sect was astonished by the appearance of the Spirit Patriarch Palace. Streaks of light soared into the sky before staring blankly at the gargantuan palace. This place is so big. I can do many trials here. Bai Ling wore a gentle expression, but there was a hint of excitement in her eyes. At this moment, a semi-transparent woman with a cold expression appeared at the entrance of the Spirit Patriarch Palace. Is this the Tai Chu continent? There are so many people here to welcome me. The Spirit Maiden looked at the higher-ups of the 4-9 Immortal Sect, as well as the spectating disciples, and a warm smile appeared on her face. Then, her gaze fell on a woman in a fluttering white dress. This was Bai Ling, who was also wearing a warm smile. Hello, my name is the Spirit Maiden. What's your name? The Spirit Maiden felt like this woman was quite pleasing to the eye. My name is Bai Ling. Bai Ling could see a hint of eagerness in the Spirit Maiden's eyes. Welcome to the 4-9 Immortal Sect. I've heard that this place used to be a trial ground? That's right. The Spirit Maiden floated toward Bai Ling. I know many trials that can allow one to quickly grow, but I also know many trials that can strike despair into the hearts of others. What a coincidence. I know quite a few as well. Bai Ling raised her chin. The Spirit Maiden extended a hand with a smile. I hope we can cooperate well so that the disciples of the sect can receive better training. Bai Ling shook her hand. Let's work together. Just like that, the first trial strategic alliance in the history of the 4-9 Immortal Sect was formed. All of the spectating disciples felt like their legs had turned to jelly, and some of them were even on the verge of tears. Mommy! Why did she have to let them see this? It was too terrifying. Chapter 1788. It was quite clear that the Spirit Maiden and Bai Ling were very congenial. However, the more they got along, the more flustered the disciples became. Bai Ling's trials often made them cry, and now, there was a Spirit Maiden who shared her interests. How were they going to play in the sect trials in the future? The Rabbit Maiden skipped over to the Spirit Maiden in a friendly manner. Sister Spirit Maiden. The Spirit Maiden stared at the Rabbit Maiden, and a memory from a very long time ago suddenly surfaced in her mind, upon which her astonishment turned into rage. Your heavenly monarch Shi Ling. Rumble. A suffocating soul power suddenly erupted from the Spirit Maiden. She abruptly charged forward before grabbing onto the Rabbit Maiden's slender neck and lifting her into the air. Little Rabbit! Unlin was startled and was about to stop it. Don't come any closer! The Rabbit Maiden suddenly yelled. Everyone stopped in their tracks, not knowing what to do with the sudden change in the scene before their eyes. Much to everyone's astonishment, the Rabbit Maiden didn't resist in the slightest. She allowed herself to be held in midair by the Spirit Maiden, and she wore a guilty and sorrowful expression as she looked at the woman before her. Calm down, Spirit Maiden. I didn't participate in Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo's killing of the Spirit Patriarch. I was also trapped in a small world by him. Even so, you deserve to die. If it weren't for your invitation, the Spirit Patriarch wouldn't have decided to communicate with the Spirit Tribe and trust Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo. All living beings of your Spirit Tribe deserve to die. The Spirit Maiden's breathing accelerated, and her soul body shimmered with light, clearly indicating that she was extremely agitated. I'm sorry, the Rabbit Maiden said softly. She knew that the Spirit Ancestor was very kind and treated her very well. It was exactly because the Spirit Patriarch trusted her that he also trusted Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo. Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo was indeed very sincere and enthusiastic at the time. It was just that he never imagined that the mask of righteousness that had been maintained for tens of thousands of years would be taken off just like that, and what was revealed after it was taken off was such a cruel and merciless appearance. The Rabbit Maiden wasn't going to shirk her responsibilities. Even though she was one of the 4 heavenly monarchs of the Spirit Tribe and one of the most powerful beings in the realm of stars, she still chose to lower her head in the face of a mere artifact spirit's scolding. You! The Spirit Maiden was enraged by the Rabbit Maiden's reaction. Rumble! The ground trembled. The Rabbit Maiden was bashed into the ground by the Spirit Maiden, creating a massive crater. Not resisting, not refuting. Just like before, so docile that it's annoying. You're the only one who hasn't changed at all. How boring. With that, the Spirit Maiden turned and walked into the Spirit Patriarch Palace, completely ignoring the rabbit in the pit. Unlin helped the rabbit out of the pit and asked worriedly, "Are you all right?" A gentle smile appeared on the Rabbit Maiden's face as she looked on at the Spirit Maiden's departing figure. Sister Spirit Maiden is still the same as before. You have a sharp tongue but a soft heart. It's probably the heart of stinky tofu, isn't it? Unlin couldn't help but complain. The Rabbit Maiden. There was nothing he could do about it. Unlin had a very deep impression of the Spirit Maiden's frenzied state during the Spirit Patriarch's trial. Unlin really couldn't tell that the Spirit Maiden had a soft heart. The days returned to normal. The Celestial Clan still didn't make any big move. There were only some small-scale battles erupting. Unlin had nothing to do, so he spent his days in the sect. He was waiting for the sun and the bone in his sea of vital energy to be completely digested and absorbed. That's right, all he had to do now was lie down and become more powerful. All of the other disciples and elders of the 4-9 Immortal sect didn't slack off in the slightest. All of them were diligently cultivating, completing missions, and guarding the borders of the Kingdom of the 9 States. The Spirit Maiden and Bai Ling held a series of Divine Sense trials in the Spirit Patriarch Palace. The Divine Sense trials included the Tao Body stage, Spirit Nurturing stage, Soul Formation stage, Return to Void stage, and Tao Integration stage. The content was extremely rich and varied, and it could be said that it encompassed everything. All of the disciples of the 4-9 Immortal sect had the opportunity to enter the Spirit Patriarch Palace for free. Apparently, those who performed well in a certain cultivation stage would receive extremely generous reward. Most of the disciples were unable to resist the temptation and all entered the Spirit Patriarch Palace for trials. They entered with smiles on their faces and exited with tears on their faces, creating quite a spectacle for the 4-9 Immortal sect. Not only were the disciples unable to endure this kind of demonic trial, but even the powerful elders were also dealt a heavy blow. Shui Zhantian went in with a defiant expression, only to come out with a sobbing face. Dabai went in with woof woof, and came out with wah wah wah. Little Huang went in with wah wah wah, and came out with wah wah wah. When Long Outyan went in, his life was in his own hand. When he came out, he lay under the stretcher and muttered in a low voice, "When the heavens give me a great responsibility, I must first torture my will and strain my bones." Of course, the trial was only terrifying. However, the rewards were still very substantial. Xianyuan Qing experienced this trial, and was imbued with inspiration, thereby inventing the soul explosion technique. Sun Yulua experienced this demonic trial, and he gradually understood the sword Tao that he was going to walk in the future. Ada, Jean Ling, and Jean Yao experienced a top-tier soul power trial, and they were currently attempting to resonate their souls as triplets in order to enhance each other's Tao integration stage. The trials in the Spirit Patriarch Palace were all trials that led directly to the God of Creation stage. Their value was immeasurable, and their influence was also extremely profound. Gradually, this trial became one of the most renowned trials of the 4-9 Immortal Sect and one of the 4-9 Immortal Sect's signature project. The effects of the Spirit Realm battle were gradually becoming apparent. A large number of Void Spirit Tribe super mighty figures and powerful beings had perished, and even though the Void Spirit Tribe was trying their best to cover it up, the 4-9 Immortal Sect was the one who had done it. The God Engulfing Skeleton was dead, Ember was dead, the Infernal Abyss Emperor was dead, the Chaotic Demon Ball was dead, the Sword Essence Emperor was dead, the Dark Soul Emperor was dead, the Bright Soul Snake was dead. It was all done by our 4-9 Immortal Sect. If you don't like the super mighty figures above, then come out and refute us. The Void Spirit Tribe fell silent. The entire world was in an uproar. As expected, the 4-9 Immortal Sect had been annihilated again. News about the 4-9 Immortal Sect was everywhere, and the 4-9 Immortal Sect's reputation and godhood were gradually stabilizing. This was something that Enlin was very happy to see. He loved to boost his own morale and crush his enemies' morale. The human race and other tribes had been able to battle the heavenly human tribe and the heavenly gods for so long, and that was what they needed the most. The sun was shining brightly. Enlin lay on his lounge chair and flipped through newspapers from all over the world with elation in his eyes. The 4-9 Immortal Sect had garnered a lot of headlines, and as the sect leader, there were naturally many articles about him. There were even photos of him in his elegant white robe, and he was very pleased with this. The cry of a crane reverberated through the sky. Enlin saw an immortal crane descend from the sky, along with a golden scroll that exuded extremely powerful energy fluctuations. He was very familiar with these energy fluctuations. These were energy fluctuations unique to the celestial art. Is this an invitation to assist in battle? It's quite a formal invitation. Enlin smiled and opened the golden scroll, upon which he was greeted by the sight of the word Earth. Chapter 1789. Enlin's interest was immediately piqued by the word Earth. It's actually my hometown that needs assistance in battle. What happened? His heart jolted, and he immediately read the main information. The heavenly human tribe wanted to destroy the entire human race, and Earth was naturally not going to be spared. The barrier around Earth had already been infiltrated by the heavenly human tribe, and it was showing signs of cracking, so powerful beings had to be stationed there. Nuwa had already taken emergency measures to fortify the barrier, but the side effect of fortifying the barrier was that Tao integration stage super mighty figures would not be able to travel to Earth. Enlin knew that this was actually a good thing. Earth was too fragile. If a Tao integration stage battle were to erupt on Earth, the entire planet would soon face a catastrophic disaster. After Nuwa fortified the barrier, the rate at which the cracks were cracking had slowed down. High-level heavenly human tribe powerful beings were unable to enter, but there were still some chi condensation stage, arcane body stage, and soul-piercing stage heavenly human tribe powerful beings who were able to enter through some special methods and wreak havoc on Earth. It was exactly because of this that the Celestial Court decided to send people to defend Earth, and they also wanted to ask the 4-9 Immortal Sect if they would be willing to join forces to suppress Earth. Earth. It's been a long time since I've been back. Enlin was a little touched. An urge welled up in his heart. Perhaps he could go back and visit? On a beautiful blue planet, a series of massive battleships were patrolling the solar system, which was several million kilometers away from Earth. The light of the sun and the stars shone upon their silvery white surfaces, creating a dazzling display. This was the Earth United Space Force, and there were a total of 88 space carriers, which represented the most powerful space fleet that Earth had ever seen. On the blue planet, the human race had already entered the era of artificial intelligence. All types of jobs had already been replaced by artificial intelligence robots. 99% of agriculture, industry, manufacturing, and even service industries were performed by robots and masterminds. The human population of over 10 billion had already been liberated, and they could do many things they wanted to do. The entertainment industry had also developed to an unprecedented level. However, the most revered profession was still scientific research. The profession that everyone yearned for the most was still cultivation. This had not changed even after over 100 years. Cultivation was no longer a mystery to them. Not to mention the Peace Sect of China, the Holy Cathedral of the European Union, and the Genetic Alliance of the American Alliance, even the illusory Celestial Court was known to the world. As the only unknown force of the human race, it originated from the Hua nation. This was something that the Chinese were extremely proud of. The Chinese were also proud of being born in the Hua nation. The world's political power had been simplified into three extreme powers: Asia-Pacific, the European Union, and the American Alliance. These three powers were not opposed to each other, but rather united. They all had a common enemy, the Celestial Clan, an evil race that wanted to destroy the entire human race. In the undeveloped mountainous region, the forest was verdant and lush, with birds chirping and flowers fragrant. The entire mountain forest was filled with a tranquil atmosphere. It was an ancient Taoist courtyard with white bricks and green tiles. Light smoke curled up in spirals. Tap 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 tap. The sound of high heels hitting the ground echoed in the Tao Academy. An extremely tall and slender woman in a white blouse and black miniskirt made her way into the Tao Academy. Her long legs were perfectly outlined by her black stockings, and each and every one of her steps was light and graceful. Her name was Sun Luoqiu, and she was responsible for welcoming immortal ambassadors from the Celestial Court. At the same time, she held an extremely high status in the Hua nation military, having reached the rank of colonel at such a young age. As per usual, she was here to welcome the next wave of immortal ambassadors. However, she was astonished in the instant that she stepped through the gate. A middle-aged man in military uniform with a thin figure yet stood exceptionally tall was standing silently by the side of the Tao Institute's teleportation formation, and his cold expression faintly revealed a wisp of anticipation. Great General Chen Jinghua. Sun Luoqiu's expression was filled with astonishment, and she immediately stood at attention before extending a military salute to the man. "It's you, little Chiu. You're right on time." The middle-aged man looked at the beautiful and tall woman in front of him and beckoned to her. Come over here." "Great General, why have you come here in person?" Sun Luoqiu was a little uneasy at the sight of this mighty figure. Chen Jinghua was the pillar of the Hua nation military and commanded an army of several million soldiers. Even the leaders of the major powers didn't have the right to make him welcome them in person. "I'm here because there's an immortal worthy of my welcome." Chen Jinghua smiled as he looked at the glowing teleportation spell formation. "Worthy of your welcome? Could it be a celestial immortal mighty figure?" Sun Luoqiu let loose a cry of surprise as she thought of the most powerful beings from the Celestial Court. "Ha, celestial immortal? You're underestimating fake Taoist priest." A crisp, pleasant voice suddenly sounded from the roof of the Tao Academy. Sun Luoqiu looked up to discover a young woman with a pair of ponytails, an exquisite oval face, and skin as fair as jade sitting on the edge of the roof, looking down at her with a slight smile on her face. A light breeze blew past, and her pink dress fluttered in the wind, revealing a pair of well-proportioned feet. "Tian Lingling of the Peace Sect?" Sun Luoqiu's expression shifted again. Tian Lingling was a top-rate cultivator at the soul formation pinnacle stage, as well as the #1 goddess in the cultivation world. She had redefined the rules of goddesses with her powerful cultivation base. Even short and flat-chested people could become goddesses. Tian Lingling was usually cold and indifferent to immortal ambassadors who descended into the mortal world, so why was she so enthusiastic now? Also, who was this fake Taoist priest she was talking about? Sun Luoqiu was at a complete loss. At this moment, another burst of hearty laughter sounded from the distance. A man stood atop a flying WRM over 1,000 feet in length with a suit of glazed immortal armor and an immortal sword in his hand. He tore through the clouds and leaped into the air before landing lightly in the Tao Academy. Sun Luoqiu was at a complete loss for words upon seeing the man before her. This was the sect leader of the Peace Sect in the Hua Nation, an Mingchuan. This man had an unimaginably terrifying background, and no one in the entire world dared to mess with him. He was only at the soul formation intermediate stage, but he was able to hold his own against the number 1 cultivator in the Hua Nation, return to void stage Yumu, with his ultra-powerful cultivation methods, countless spirit pills, and legendary immortal rank equipment. Senior and Mingchuan. Sun Luoqiu hurriedly extended a respectful salute with a horrified expression. Uncle Lin, Tian Lingling greeted with a wide grin. Taoist priest Ming Chuan. Even Chen Jinghua extended a respectful salute. Marshal Chen, I'm more than capable of welcoming people. There's no need for you to come in person. And Ming Chuan chuckled. You're far too kind, Taoist priest Ming Chuan. We're all from the same village on earth. If I didn't come here, it would be difficult for our fellow countrymen to feel the care and concern of our fellow countrymen. A rare, gentle smile appeared on Chen Jinghua's face. Sun Luoqiu's heart trembled upon hearing this. Even the Taoist priest had to come in person to welcome them? At the same time, she was even more perplexed. It seemed like everyone knew who they were going to welcome, except for her, who was responsible for welcoming immortal ambassadors. For some reason, she felt extremely stifled. May I ask who the immortal ambassador is? Sun Luoqiu asked in an uneasy and nervous manner. What? You don't know who it is? An Mingchuan faltered slightly upon hearing this. Ahem, that's because this has to be kept a secret. Those with too low a rank don't have the authority to know. An awkward expression flashed through Chen Jinghua's face. Too low a rank. Sun Luoqiu had always thought of herself as a prodigy, and her heart was pierced by An Mingchuan's words. So she was a husky who had accidentally snuck into the group of mighty figures? An Mingchuan was just about to explain who they were going to welcome when the teleportation spell formation lit up, and a series of ethereal figures appeared before them. Chapter 1790. Sun Luoqiu's eyes widened, and she couldn't help but straighten her back as her voluptuous chest unconsciously formed a proud curve in her white blouse. To her surprise, this slight movement drew a resentful gaze from the young woman sitting on the rooftop. One figure after another emerged from the spell formation. Sun Luoqiu couldn't help but look down at the peculiar watch on her wrist. This watch was a combat prowess detection device developed by the top research institute in the country. There was a core within it that was extremely sensitive to energy fluctuations, thereby allowing it to accurately detect the energy fluctuations emanating from an opponent's body. At this moment, the number on her watch was rapidly rising. Hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, it had already broken through the soul formation stage Earth immortal level. Hundreds of thousands. Sun Luoqiu's heart rate accelerated. This was the energy fluctuation of a return to void stage, celestial immortal. Hundreds of thousands, millions, millions. The number was still rising rapidly, and it soon surpassed the detection limit of the device. Crack, her wristwatch suddenly exploded in smoke. Because the origin nucleus could not withstand the energy fluctuations it sensed, it suddenly exploded. Sun Luoqiu was given a fright. Combat prowess off the charts. This was the first time she had encountered such a situation. Her tall and slender body trembled involuntarily. How long had it been since she had felt this way? The thrill and excitement of being dominated by an expert unknowingly surged into her heart. Ahaha! It's been a long time since I've been to the mortal world. The density of vital energy here seems to have increased, and it's becoming more and more suitable for cultivation. An extremely clear voice sounded. Sun Luochu focused her gaze and was instantly rooted to the spot. A man with a pair of piercing eyes and a red heavenly silk dress with golden rings on his hands slowly appeared above the spell formation. There were golden flames burning beneath his feet, but they didn't seem scorching in the slightest. Sun Luochu was extremely familiar with the descriptions of the immortals of the Celestial Court, so she instantly recognized this man. This was the top-rate celestial immortal of the Celestial Court, third Prince Naja, who was at the Return to Void pinnacle stage. As long as the 5 emperors of the Celestial Court didn't appear, he was the most powerful being of the Celestial Court. No wonder so many people came to welcome him. It turned out that such a great god had come. Sun Luochu immediately made her way toward him with a respectful expression. Chen Jingua, Tian Lingling, and An Mingchuan also quickly made their way toward the spell formation with smiles on their faces. Junior Sun Luochu respectfully greets Celestial Immortal Naja. Sun Luochu hastily saluted the handsome man. Fake Taoist priest. My son, your father missed you so much. Senior Enlin has come from afar. Welcome, welcome. The 3 big shots that she respected very much passed Neza and greeted a weird-looking man who was riding a dog warmly. Sun Luochu's smile froze on her face. What was going on? Why did they go over there? Did I act cute again? Sun Luochu suddenly felt very awkward. Hello. Neza replied politely. He flicked his braid and said with a gratified expression, I thought that the moment I returned to Earth, Brother Enlin would steal all the limelight. I didn't expect there to be a beauty who likes me more, Sun Luochu murmured. Enlin. The image of the man riding the dog gradually overlapped with the image in a certain picture book. He's that Enlin who came from the Hua nation and is known as the war god of the Celestial Court? He's comparable to the 5 emperors of the Celestial Court? Sun Luochu screeched and immediately shook off Neza before rushing over to Enlin. Her cheeks were flushed, and her breathing accelerated as she stared at Enlin with an unimaginable scorching light in her eyes. Neza. It was no wonder that Sun Luochu would have such a reaction. For people like her who knew the inside story of the Celestial Court, Enlin was the man who came from the Hua nation and slowly rose to the pinnacle of the Celestial Court. Enlin was just conversing with his father when a woman who he suspected to be his biggest fan suddenly appeared and stared at him with an intense gaze. He was slightly taken aback, but he still greeted her in a friendly manner. Hi. Enlin is talking to me. Sun Luochu's legs abruptly clamped together as a peculiar blush appeared on her face, but she was still staring at Enlin with an infatuated expression. Enlin. Tian Lingling. My subordinate is perhaps too much of an admirer of you, and that's why she lost her composure. An awkward expression appeared on Chen Jinggua's face. He was starting to regret making Sun Luochu the person in charge of this reception. Never would he have thought that Sun Luochu would admire Enlin to this extent. Dad, it looks like you've been doing quite well for the past 100 years. Enlin couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief at the sight of the middle-aged man who was brimming with energy and vitality. It's not too bad. I've only managed to create the #1 cultivation sect in the Hua nation, and I've only managed to do so because of an abundance of cultivation resources. Aside from a bit of money, I don't really have any other advantages. An Mingchuan laid a hand on his immortal tool armor and heaved a forlorn sigh as he held the pinnacle immortal tool, the ocean heavenly dragon sword. Is that so? That's a bit troublesome. Enlin's brows furrowed upon hearing this. I don't have anything on this trip aside from a lot of money and a bunch of spirit rank and immortal rank materials. It looks like there's not much I can do to help you, Dad. Tian Lingling. Chen Jingua. Listening to the two of them exchange pleasantries in a strange style, the two of them felt a little dizzy and disoriented. So handsome! Sun Luoqiu exclaimed with an intoxicated expression. Speaking of which, where's my daughter-in-law, Xiaolan? Why didn't she come back with you? And Mingchuan looked at Dabai before looking around with a disappointed expression. He discovered that this dog and his son had appeared in front of him more often than Xiaolan. The formation has been reinforced by Nuwa, and Xiaolan is a Dao integration stage super mighty figure, so she won't be able to enter, Anlin explained. That's such a pity. You have to treat her better. She's been taking care of your dad while you're gone. And Mingchuan waved the immortal sword in his hand and said, She was the one who gave me this set of immortal robes. Anlin faltered slightly upon hearing this. Xiaolan hadn't told him about this. Su Xiaolan wasn't as rich as him, and Mingchuan's immortal rank equipment was probably worth at least a few tens of millions of spirit stones. That was probably more than half of Xiaolan's previous net worth. Anlin was quite touched by this thought. When everyone thought that he was dead, Xiaolan didn't give up on him, nor did she give up on his family. In fact, she was even willing to spend tens of millions of spirit stones on his dad. Where else could he find such a good wife? Don't worry, Dad, I'll be sure to take good care of Xiaolan, Anlin promised with a solemn expression. Fake Taoist priest, I heard you went to cultivate with Nuwa for 100 years. Tian Lingling asked with a curious expression, What does Her Majesty Nuwa look like? Is she beautiful? Do you have a picture of her? Only then did Anlin recall that Su Xiaolan had given him the excuse that he had gone to cultivate with Nuwa, so he couldn't return to Earth. Everyone's expression became serious upon hearing this, and they couldn't help but listen closely. They knew that Earth was also known as Earth, and that it was a world created by Nuwa. In other words, Nuwa was the paramount goddess of Earth. She was the most powerful, mysterious, and unimaginable being on Earth. Her Majesty Nuwa is definitely beautiful. She's the most beautiful being I've ever seen in this world. As for pictures, I definitely don't have any. I don't have the rights to her portrait. Anlin replied without hesitation. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. In Nuwa's world, how could he not compliment Nuwa? By the way, I came back this time to visit my family and friends, and also to see if there's a way to deal with the flaws in the barrier of this world. Anlin changed the subject. Chen Jingguo was already prepared, and he immediately produced a map upon hearing this. The map clearly indicated the locations of the cracks that had appeared. Chapter 1791. Anlin looked down at the map to find that there were several hundred cracks on it. There were also about a dozen or so large cracks that could accommodate soul-piercing stage, heavenly human tribe powerful beings. Most importantly, these cracks couldn't be forcibly closed. They could only be guarded by the army. There are so many cracks and they're still increasing. Najah looked at the increasing number of cracks with a grave expression. Are we going to have enough cultivators? Don't worry about that. Speaking of this, Chen Jingguo had a smug look on his face. Our human technology has already greatly enhanced the combat prowess of our soldiers. Right now, the main forces resisting the heavenly human tribe are the armies of our three powers. Really? A curious expression appeared on Najah's face. Of course, technology is power. Even though cultivators are extremely powerful, there's a limit to how much power they can muster. However, technology can benefit the entire race and create a massive unified army. For now, our army is the main force in the fight against the heavenly human tribe, Chen Jingguo explained. And Mingchuan didn't refute this, clearly indicating that he was agreeing. Anlin smiled with intrigue. Interesting. I really want to see how far human technology has progressed. Before that, should we say hello to our old friends in the WeChat group? Tian Lingling asked as she waved the intricate watch on her wrist. It's been over 100 years, why does WeChat still exist? Anlin was astonished. Haha, of course. The life force of the QQ Empire is limitless, and so is the life force of WeChat. WeChat is no longer the same version as it was in the past. It has already been updated to 1068 versions. Tian Lingling tossed a blue watch toward Enlin with a smile. Here, this is for you. I've already created an identity for you. You can use this star brain to surf the internet like a cell phone. Aside from that, it can also observe vital signs, perform emergency treatment, perform spatial reconnaissance, project holograms, perform super calculations, and act as an autonomous life agent. It's the most exclusive version of the star brain, so it's very expensive. Make sure to take good care of it. Tian Lingling instructed with a serious expression. Oh, this little thing actually has so many functions? Enlin put on the star brain that looked like a watch, and the look of interest on his face became even more intense. Only then did he notice that in Mingchuan, Chen Jinghua, and Sun Luoqiu also had similar watches on their wrists. It appeared that these were the watches that had replaced human cell phones. An envious expression appeared on Sun Luoqiu's face. At her level, she wouldn't even be able to buy the limited edition Starputer in Enlin's hands even if she worked hard for another 10 years. However, Tian Lingling had casually gifted one to Enlin. Of course, Tian Lingling appeared to be very generous and nonchalant on the surface, but she was actually feeling extremely pained in her heart. The value of Chinese currency was becoming more and more important. With Chinese currency, one could buy technological products that many cultivators covet. Because of this, it was not easy to earn RMB. This limited edition Star Brain watch cost 1/3 of her savings. She herself was using a lower-level Star Brain. Enlin put on the watch, and a piece of information flowed into his brain. In an instant, he understood how to use the Star Brain. What an interesting technology! To think that it can transfer information without harming anyone. Enlin nodded with approval on his face. This is the signature technology of the limited edition Star Brain. Normal Star Brains don't even have this technology. Sun Luoqiu spoke with an envious expression. Enlin twisted his wrist, and a rectangular screen materialized from particles of light appeared directly above the watch. He pinched the holographic screen between his fingers and was able to adjust the position of the screen to suit him. He could also zoom in and out as well. It was a very user-friendly process. Ding dong. A crisp chime sounded. Tian Lingling had invited fake Taoist priest Little and into the All Cultivators of the World Unite Together to Protect Earth group. An extremely gentle and concise interface appeared on the screen of light. Messages were popping up incessantly, and the chat was very lively. Scholar Soaring Dragon. My arm was severed by the heavenly human tribe, and I urgently need an immortal with superior medical skills. Genetic Ghost King, I'll come. I'll wait for you at the headquarters of the American Genetic Alliance. A peculiar expression flashed through Enlin's eyes. There were foreigners in the group? Had all cultivators become internationalized? Light Particle Bomb Fairy. Sigh, another depressing day. The Savior. Sister Light Particle Bomb, be more optimistic. Didn't you just obtain a low-rank spirit tool? Why are you depressing again? Light Particle Bomb Fairy sent an emoticon of a heavenly human with tears streaming down her face after her A*S had been punctured by a spirit tool. My spirit tool is too dirty. It always smells bad when I use it. The Savior. Atomic Bomb Fairy chortled with glee. Who told you to treat your enemies like this? Light Particle Bomb Fairy. Wah. I want to sell a spirit tool, who wants it? The Savior. I can't afford it, bye-bye. Crackshot Clairvoyant. I can't afford it. Green River Sword Immortal sent an image of a heavenly human with his head separated from his body. Turn around, Big Boss. Enlin's lips curled up involuntarily as he looked at the familiar and unfamiliar numbers. The style of this group was just as familiar as before. As for the notification that he had entered the group, it was quickly pushed up, and no one seemed to have noticed it. Dongfang Shui. I'm having a concert tonight. It's going to be held at the Land of Stars in Shanghai. Immediately afterward, a photo appeared in the chat box. A beautiful and refined woman with flowing white hair stood on the stage. Her expression was calm and tranquil, and behind her was a resplendent starry sky. The Savior. I'll definitely go to Ms. Dongfang Shui's concert. Green River Sword Immortal. Me too, I love Dongfang Shui the most. Northern Han the Enlightened. I want to add one. Golden Jade. I have a question, do you still have tickets? As soon as Dongfang Shui appeared, all of the other members of the group immediately popped up. Any cultivator in the group who wants to go can get the innermost tickets. Dongfang Shui covered her mouth as she giggled. Lin's heart stirred, and he clicked on the photo that Dongfang Shui had sent. The scenery before his eyes instantly changed, and a dazzling starry sky appeared before him. An exquisitely beautiful woman seemed to have really appeared before him, and she was smiling at him. Is this a holographic projection? It's so realistic, I feel like I'm actually there. Lin couldn't help but reach out to touch the woman before him, only to find nothing. Haha, do you want to go to Big Sister Dongfang's concert? Her singing skills are getting better and better. Tian Lingling chuckled. He recalled that he really liked Dongfang Shui's singing, and her voice was indeed very beautiful. Lin didn't even get a chance to say anything before Tian Lingling sent an excited message in the group. Tian Lingling. Big Sister Dongfang, leave 2 tickets for me, I want to go with fake Taoist priest. Dongfang Shui smiled. Alright, leave 2 tickets for Little Ling to go with fake Taoist priest. Who's fake Taoist priest? I think I just saw a message from fake Taoist priest Littlin. Is he a new cultivator? Why don't you introduce him? Scholar Tai Bai was confused. Dongfang Shui. Oh, fake Taoist priest. He looks so familiar, I think he's, in the group. A group of cultivators who had popped up earlier suddenly fell silent. Atomic Bomb Fairy. Holy F***ck. The Savior. Holy F***ck. Dongfang Shui. Holy F***ck. Chapter 1792. All of the cultivators in the group suddenly went into a frenzy. Scholar Tai Bai was completely dumbstruck. He had no idea what was going on. Genetic Heavenly Tiger. Who's fake Taoist priest? Golden Heavenly Holy Disciple. Same question. No one replied to them. All of the seniors in the group immediately went into a frenzy. Atomic Bomb Fairy. A mushroom cloud has already risen up in my heart. Dreamy Voice Fairy. I want to sing a song for the return of the Mighty One. Taoist Wooden Ox. Is the Mighty One really back? Dongfang Shui. Lin, is that really you? Fake Taoist priest Littlin. Long time no see, everyone. Enlightened Lazarite. Greetings, Mighty One. Green River Sword Immortal. Greetings, Mighty One. Dongfang Shui. Greetings, Mighty One. Immediately afterward, the group was flooded with messages from the other cultivators. They had all become repeaters. Lin was struck by a sense of nostalgia upon seeing this familiar scene. Time had not worn them down, and they were still so adorable and interesting. Lin scrolled back to look at Dongfang Shui's photo. She was still as beautiful and quiet as ever, as if she were a celestial maiden who stood aloof from the world. Time had not left any traces on her face. It was a good thing that everyone knew about the existence of cultivation for a singer to be able to maintain her beauty for over 100 years. Otherwise, there would be no way that she was an immortal goddess. She would be a demon. The commotion in the group lasted for a while before finally dying down. After a round of recommendations from the seniors, all of the cultivators in the group knew of Lin's name. Just this title alone was enough to strike awe and shock into their hearts. War God of the Celestial Court. This was equivalent to the most powerful being in the Kingdom of the 9 States suddenly descending upon their small world. The commotion caused by this was self-evident. One had to realize that Minchuan's identity as Lin's father was enough to elevate the Peace Immortal sect to become the #1 sect in the Hua Nation. And now, Unlin had appeared in their group. How could the commotion not be massive? In just a minute, Unlin had received over 100 friend requests. Taoist priest Yun. I wonder why Almighty Unlin has come? Fake Taoist priest Littlein. I came back mainly to see if there's a way to restrict the expansion of the cracks on Earth. As soon as he said that, the cultivators became excited again. The Celestial clan had more and more enemies, and they were becoming more and more powerful. This matter was always a blade hanging over their hearts. With Enlin personally handling this matter, they all felt that there was hope that this knife could be removed. Taoist priest Xiun, if Enlin needs my help, just tell me. Taoist Lazarite, me too, I will do my best to help. Dongfang Shui, count me in. I'll help you even if I don't have a concert. Atomic Bomb Fairy. Demolition business, free of charge, Photon Bomb Fairy. Tech side, gentle photon bomb business. I'm willing to go bankrupt to help you. Crack Shot Clairvoyant. Free fortune telling. The cultivators in the group expressed their opinions enthusiastically. Enlin was extremely touched, and tears welled up in his eyes. He expressed that he would contact them if he ever needed help. This group contained all of the most talented cultivators on Earth. It could be said that this was the highest level group on Earth. It was even a few levels higher than the bragging groups of the top 500 CEOs of the world. Enlin closed the group chat and tried out a few more functions of the Starbrain. There were all types of novel functions available, and they were all very user-friendly. There was even a light pulse massage, and it could directly project holographic projections and play all types of novel movies. Not only could it satisfy one's sense of sight, but it could also satisfy one's sense of smell and touch. Naja and Dabai were both itching to try out a Starbrain as well, and Ming Chuan chortled with glee. He had clearly anticipated this, and he pulled out 2 Starbrains from his storage ring. Both of them were high-end versions, but they weren't limited edition. Enlin wasn't his son, so there was no need for him to spend so much on them. Enlin chatted with Chun Jingua for a while longer about how to deal with the cracks, and he decided to gather everyone tomorrow to familiarize himself with Earth's environment. Sun Luoqiu blushed with excitement, and she offered to take Enlin to familiarize himself with Earth's environment. Enlin turned down her offer with a righteous expression. He was afraid that she would pounce on him if he allowed her to follow him around. Boys had to know how to protect themselves in this area. The responsibility of introducing the changes on Earth fell on the shoulders of the legal lowly, Tian Lingling. After bidding farewell to Chen Jingua and Sun Luoqiu, Enlin and the others rose into the air and flew toward the Peace Immortal sect. Enlin rode on his dog, and Mingchuan flew on his sword, Naja stood on his wind flame wheels, and Tian Lingling flew on her lightning dart. The 4 of them flew at an extremely fast speed, leaving 4 streaks of white cloud in their wake. Tian Lingling's body was slender and delicate, and she wore a pink dress that danced in the wind. The neckline was very low, revealing her fair, tender skin, intricate collarbones, and flat, airport runway. Beneath her dress was a pair of white stockings that wrapped around her well-proportioned calves. Paired with a pair of brown leather boots, she looked like a heart-warming beauty from afar. It looked like she had completely given up on her chest and height and had chosen to accept reality. She had been a lowly for over 100 years. Tian Lingling's fingers quickly tapped on the screen. Look, the photon pulse acupoint massage can be activated here, and this is the body condition monitoring system. You just have to tap on this. This is the game entry interface. Naja and Dabai had a lot of fun playing under Tian Lingling's guidance. There were many functions that they could achieve with their immortal spells. However, in terms of entertainment, there were many new games and videos that they couldn't bear to part with. Ha ha, this Celestial Court immortal battle is so fun, woof! Dabai frantically tapped on the screen with his dog paws, controlling true Lord Erlang to battle against Naja. This was a real-life battle mode. 2 3-dimensional images would appear before one's eyes, and they would unleash a series of mountain-moving and ocean-filling technique. Although this was Dabai's first time playing, he was able to rely on his astonishing reflexes and perfect control of timing. His paws left afterimages in the air as he pummeled an experienced player. Never in his wildest dreams would his opponent have thought that he would be beaten by a dog. Most importantly, this was the dog's first time. In the end, true Lord Erlang defeated Naja and threw up blood. Naja, you piece of sh*t. Woof. A disdainful smile appeared on Dabai's face. The real Naja's expression darkened. I know you're not talking about me, but it still hurts. Woof. How do you know I'm not talking about you? Dabai wagged his tail in provocation. Hee. Naja's bushy eyebrows perked up. Thus, Naja and Dabai both logged into the Celestial Court Immortal Battle and engaged in battle. Chapter 1793. They flew along the way. Not long after that, an extremely grand sect appeared before their eyes. The dragon bone pillars extended into the clouds, as well as the golden peace character hanging high above, all exuded a powerful aura. Hurry up! Our sect leader is back. Elder Tian Lingling is back as well. The sect disciples immediately began to report the arrival of the man on his sword. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, bursts of dazzling light shot into the sky, forming a few large words. Welcome back, sect leader. At the same time, a beautiful immortal tune reverberated throughout the mountains. Our doors are always open, waiting for you with open arms. You'll fall in love with this place after cultivating here. We're friends no matter where you are, so there's no need to stand on ceremony. We've agreed to be together, we welcome you. Peace welcomes you, we create heaven and earth for you. Anlin was a little dumbstruck upon hearing this. An awkward expression appeared on Minchuan's face as he heaved an awkward sigh. I actually didn't want to do this, but they have to welcome me like this every time. Anlin nodded with empathy. It's all right, it's all thanks to our sect friends. There were over 3,000 cultivators in the Peace Immortal sect, among which there were over 20 spirit-nurturing stage powerful beings and 4 soul formation stage earth immortals, including Tian Lingling and Minchuan. The most ridiculous thing was that the Peace Immortal sect even had a return to void stage mighty figure. Of course, this return to void stage mighty figure wasn't the first return to void stage cultivator on Earth. Instead, it was a horned dragon from deep within the Kunlun mountain ranges by the name of Aoleba. At the time, Aoleba needed to transcend his tribulation to reach the return to void stage, but he needed a lot of rare medicinal ingredients as a base. He was very poor and couldn't even find some of them, so he turned to Minchuan for help. And Minchuan just so happened to have all of those medicinal ingredients, so he supplied all of them to Aoleba for free as a gesture of goodwill. Aoleba was very touched. After successfully transcending his tribulation to the return to void stage, he became the Grand Elder of the Peace Immortal sect and a mighty figure of the Peace Immortal sect. There were only 5 return to void stage mighty figures in the entire world. There was 1 in the Pacific Ocean, 1 in the American Alliance, 1 in the European Union, and 2 in the Eastern Continent. One of them was Aoleba of the Peace Immortal sect, and he had been lured here by his wealth. Aoleba wore a golden robe, and he stood tall and straight with his dragon horns raised high into the air. He stood at the summit of the back mountain of the sect with his hands clasped behind his back as he looked on at the approaching Minchuan. It believed that it had reached the pinnacle of this world. However, the faintly discernible and terrifying aura that came head-on made him tremble incessantly. The red armillary sash was wrapped around his shoulders, and he stood on the wind-fire wheels. His eyes shone brightly. Is he the legendary third Prince Neza? And the man riding a Dabai dog with a stronger aura than it, could he be Aoleba? Took a deep breath and went forward to welcome them respectfully. Junior Aoleba welcomes sect leader Minchuan, Senior Anlin, and Senior Naja. There's no need for formalities, Elder Ao. Minchuan hurriedly helped Aoleba to his feet. Unlin nodded with a smile upon seeing Ao Leba of the Peace Immortal sect. Who would have thought that there would be an Ao family dragon tribe on Earth? Unlin had interacted with the dragon tribe many times in the past, and he could sense that Ao Leba possessed the Ao family dragon tribe bloodline of the Dragon Court of the Eastern Seas. In other words, he was related to Su Xiaolan by blood. I've been cultivating in the Kunlun mountain ranges for as long as I can remember. I have nothing to do with the Ao family dragon tribe of the Kingdom of the Nine States, nor do I have any interest in them, Ao Leba replied. Unlin was quite fond of Ao Leba's straightforward personality, and he seemed to be quite a good dragon. Thus, he pulled out a dragon tribe mantra from his storage ring and tossed it toward Ao Leba. This mystic tome may be helpful to your cultivation. Don't worry, it has nothing to do with the Dragon Court of the Eastern Seas. It was written by my disciple, and you can cultivate it all the way to the Tao integration stage. This. Ao Leba caught the mystic tome, and his hands trembled uncontrollably as if he had been struck by lightning. Every mystic tome was an inheritance. This dragon tribe mantra, that could allow one to reach the Tao integration stage, was a Tao integration stage inheritance. On Earth, this was definitely a supreme-grade inheritance that could only be obtained through luck. And now, Unlin was handing such an important thing to him? I, Ao Leba, hereby vow to protect the Peace Immortal sect with my life. Ao Leba half knelt to the ground and extended a solemn salute to Unlin and Mingchuan. Unlin was very pleased. It was so easy to talk to smart people. Tian Lingling was drooling as she looked on. A Tao integration stage inheritance. How about I try to cultivate a dragon tribe cultivation method, and become a little dragon human? Unlin pinched Tian Lingling's soft, supple cheeks with a smile. Don't switch cultivation methods on your own. Otherwise, I won't be able to save you if you go berserk. Tian Lingling glared at Unlin with her bright, almond-shaped eyes and was just about to retaliate when she heard Unlin's next sentence, and a vibrant smile immediately appeared on her face. If you want to cultivate in the future, I can just give you a suitable cultivation method, Unlin said. Fake Taoist priest is right. Fake Taoist priest is the best. A sweet smile appeared on Tian Lingling's face, and two adorable dimples appeared on her cheeks. Najah slapped a hand to his face upon seeing this. So realistic. Immediately afterward, the Peace Immortal sect held a conference, and the speaker was the young sect leader, Unlin. This event created a massive stir in the entire sect. Everyone was present, and all of them stared at the white-robed man with scorching light in their eyes. They all knew who this man was. He was the Peace Immortal sect's biggest backer. He was a legendary figure who had reached the pinnacle of all cultivators at such a young age. Unlin was already used to all of the scorching gazes directed at him, and he began to speak to the sect disciples about the past and present as well as the future. Everything he said was correct. All of the disciples applauded with one thought in their minds. Holy sh*T. I've finally seen Unlin in the flesh. After a hearty speech, the sun had already set over the horizon. The moon hung high in the sky, and countless stars shimmered in the sky. Unlin, Dabai, Tian Lingling, and Najah set off to see Dongfang Shui's concert. At the Starlight Arena in the Shanghai market. This was the most prestigious stage in the Hua Nation. This was a venue that could hold over 300,000 people. The Starlight Arena was suspended in mid-air, and it was split into 10 segments like a rainbow. The circular stage was situated at the very center of the arena, and it glowed with a faint light, allowing all of the spectators to admire its beauty. There was still an hour before the concert began, but the Starlight Arena was already packed to the brim. Dongfang Shui's ethereal and versatile voice had held her position as a top-tier international singer for over 100 years, and her popularity was still climbing. Some of the top-tier international stars had already entered their graves, but she was still on fire. This was a form of despair for all of the other stars. Dongfang Shui's near-invincible dominance made it extremely difficult to get a single ticket out of the 300,000. Lin and the others all received tickets to the innermost section of the venue and arrived at the Starlight Arena. Chapter 1794. TSK, it's so lively. Lin couldn't help but sigh in admiration as he looked at the packed venue. 300,000 people were gathered here, and each of them was holding a ball of light that could constantly change colors. The ball of light looked like a glow stick, but its color was purer and softer. Hee, I wonder how many clothes Big Sister Dongfang will change into tonight. Woof. Dabai transformed into his miniature form and followed behind Lin. In order to not attract too much attention, Hija withdrew his wind flame wheels and wore a white shirt and light blue denim pants. His red armband was like a shawl, and its color was vibrant. His overall appearance was quite unique, and his attire and handsome appearance attracted the attention of all the young women nearby. However, none of these young women would have imagined that this handsome big brother was the legendary Naja. Lin walked all the way to the innermost area of the concert. Everyone who could appear here was an important figure, and the tickets to the innermost area weren't available just because you had money. There were many important figures in politics and business, as well as international superstars. Of course, there were also some people that Lin was very familiar with. Hi, Lin, over here. A fat man with a round belly waved his hand vigorously. My savior. Lin also revealed a friendly smile. Wow, so he's War God Lin? He's so handsome. A few celestial maidens whispered to each other. A woman in a blue and white Lolita dress with golden curly hair and a golden insignia on her forehead stepped forward and extended a slender hand to shake Lin's hand with a faint smile. Greetings, immortal ambassador Lin. I'm the light particle bomb celestial. Lin came to a sudden realization. So it's you. Hello. The light particle bomb fairy was a big fake in the Cultivator group, so he didn't expect her to be a foreign girl. Hello. The light particle bomb fairy was also very polite. She had already extended her right hand to shake hands with Lin, but she also began to extend her left hand to caress the back of Lin's hand, and a faint blush appeared on her face. Lin, am I being molested? Lin immediately let go of the light particle bomb fairy's soft hand, but the light particle bomb fairy did not seem to mind. Instead, she continued to flirt with Lin with a wide grin on her face as her sapphire eyes glowed brightly. Lin recalled that this was the weirdo who had poked a heavenly human tribe cultivator's ass with a spirit tool, and then felt that the spirit tool had a special flavor, so he wanted to transfer the spirit tool. Now that he saw her today, she was indeed a nervous girl. Green River Sword Immortal and Clairvoyant also made their way over to greet Lin and Naja enthusiastically. Lin quickly blended in with them. He listened to his friends talk about the 100 years of changes in the mortal world, listening to all kinds of interesting things that happened. He felt that it was very interesting and very intimate. Not long after, the concert lights suddenly dimmed. The land of starlight suddenly fell into darkness. Schwer! Snow! Schwer! 300,000 people shouted the same name at the same time. Even Lin's expression changed slightly at the sight of such a massive commotion. Under the bright moon, a beautiful and refined woman in a white dress descended from the sky with an ink paper umbrella. She was like a celestial maiden who had descended into the mortal world. The melodious voice suddenly rang out, and the clear and melodious voice brought the audience into a strange world. Even Lin was stunned by the fact that her voice had been amplified from the get-go. After the song, the audience still hadn't come to their senses. They were silent for over 10 seconds before thunderous applause and cheers erupted. Dongfang Shui waved to the enthusiastic audience before suddenly speaking. Schwerer is very happy today. A friend that I haven't seen for a long time has suddenly returned. I just happened to prepare a special song for him. The audience instantly became excited upon hearing this. A new song. Schwer finally has a new song. I can't wait. I wonder who her friend is. What? I'm jealous. Schwer, Schwer, Schwer. The audience erupted into a frenzy upon hearing Dongfang Shue's words. However, Dongfang Shue's gaze fell upon a man in the audience, and as if she had traveled through time, a tranquil smile appeared on her face. This song of mine is called Fleeting Dream. The lights suddenly dimmed again. The previously raucous audience also fell silent. The audience was still quite well-mannered. A battlefield full of devastation appeared on the stage. Unlin could see that the color of heaven and earth had changed. The crimson sun was on the horizon, and the earth was covered in a gloomy glow. A sorrowful melody began to play. Dongfang Shui was a student who had survived the battle. Her teacher, her classmates, and her family had all perished in that battle. She held fresh flowers in her hands as she sang on the battlefield that was filled with blood and death. Her voice was first high-pitched, then it became peaceful, as if she were about to fall asleep. Ding-ling-ling, ding-ling-ling. It was as if the wind was blowing wind chimes. Then, it gradually turned into the bell signaling the end of class. Dongfang Shui woke from her dream with a start, only to discover that it was all a nightmare. Her singing began to become more lively. However, good times didn't last. After a period of peace and happiness, for some reason, she appeared on the battlefield once again. Unlin listened to her singing and watched the scenes change one by one. He found it very interesting. He understood this song. She was a very pitiful girl. One day, she discovered that her dreams were becoming clearer and clearer. No matter what she did in her dreams, she would wake up with a deep impression of it, as if she had really done it. However, in contrast, her reality became more and more blurry. When she woke up the next day, she would often forget what she had done the day before. Her dreams and reality seemed to be undergoing a strange change. Reality was slowly moving further and further away from her. Even if everything was real, even if everything felt very real, everything would become very blurry afterwards. The dream was drawing closer and closer to her. Even if she knew it was fake, the fake was becoming more and more real. Her sight, hearing, touch, smell, and taste were all becoming more and more realistic. She was struggling between reality and her dreams. Gradually, she forgot which was a dream and which was reality. The song ended. Dongfang Shui stood on a pile of rubble and sang a sorrowful song. I had a dream. There was no war in the dream. Mommy's cooking was so delicious, and the smiles of my classmates and friends were right in front of me. What a beautiful dream. I really don't want to forget. I really don't want to forget. However, this dream finally faded from her memory. However, the ironic thing was that what she thought was a beautiful dream was actually reality. The world that she was in was actually her dream. The dream had passed away. What had passed away was her reality. Chapter 1795. This was an extremely sad song. At the same time, it was also a song imbued with an extremely profound Tao realm. Dongfang Shui narrated everything in her clear and flawless voice. The audience was extremely saddened to hear this, and many of them even began to cry from the emotional resonance. The cultivators in the front row were also doing the same. The emotional Tian Lingling was already sobbing her heart out. However, some of the cultivators had incorporated this story into their Tao intent and were deep in thought. Wah! Big brotherin, she said she was very happy to see you and that she was going to give you a song, but she ended up giving you such a depressing song? Woof! Dabai wiped his tears away with his paws as he spoke. Unlin was also a little exasperated, but he still offered words of consolation. Think about it, if the story of this song was sung the other way around, wouldn't it be a very healing song? Sing the other way around? Naja's eyes suddenly lit up upon hearing Unlin's words. If that's really the case, then it's not simple. This song is really not simple. No, it should be said that Ms. Dongfang Shui really is not simple. Singing the other way around meant that the content of the song was reversed. In reality, she was living in a terrifying war, but in her dream, she was still living in a carefree school with family and friends. In the end, the dream became clearer and clearer, but reality began to blur and fade away. Then, when she woke up, she found herself in a classroom full of books. Her desk mate asked her why she was sleeping in class. She replied with a smile that she had a very, very long dream. It was a nightmare. Thankfully, she had completely forgotten about it now. She didn't have time to be scared or sad. Time flowed like water, and she continued to live like this. Thinking about it this way, this song was quite healing. Of course, if one were to delve deeper into it, they could use this as a starting point to think about the difference between dreams and reality, as well as the origin of life and consciousness. It was exactly because of this that Najia was full of praise for Dongfang Shui. Not long after that, Dongfang Shui began to sing other songs. There were cheerful songs, sweet songs, love songs, inspirational songs, and many other songs with profound meanings. There were all kinds of styles, and she was able to control all kinds of vocal ranges. Lin finally understood why Dongfang Shui had been able to dominate the global music industry for over 100 years. She really loved singing, and her singing ability was really unparalleled. Dongfang Shui's aptitude was also very good. According to Tian Lingling, Dongfang Shui was already at the half-step soul formation stage, and her domain was also related to sound. It was called the snow sound domain, and it could hypnotize, heal, buff, and kill enemies. Lin was quite envious of Dongfang Shui. Holding concerts all over the world was a way for her to cultivate. She could make others happy, and she was happy as well. Not only could she earn money, but she could also improve her cultivation base. How wonderful! 10:30 p.m. The concert ended. The 300,000 spectators left the arena, feeling a little unsatisfied. Lin bade farewell to Green River Sword Immortal and the others and planned to return to the Peace Immortal sect. But all of a sudden, his star brain lit up. There was a new message on WeChat. A familiar portrait of a beautiful woman in an ancient costume appeared on the screen. Dongfang Shui, come on, let's eat supper together. Lin was stunned for a moment. At this moment, Tian Lingling had already received a call. Let's go, big sister Dongfang is treating us to supper. Tian Lingling encircled her slender arms around Lin's arm and dragged him toward the backstage area of the Starry Realm. Lin didn't have anything to do tonight, so he allowed Tian Lingling to drag him away. There was a light ball restaurant in the Starry Realm. It hovered high in the air and floated around the entire Hu city like a bubble, providing a bird's-eye view of the most prosperous area of Hu city at night. After 100 years of development, Hu city had become the largest city in the world. Its night scenery was extremely breathtaking, especially when viewed from the light ball restaurant. Lin looked down at the night sky through the transparent floor-to-ceiling glass. A series of skyscrapers stood on the ground, with the shortest being a few hundred meters tall, while the tallest were 2,000 to 3,000 meters tall. Their bodies glowed with dazzling light, making the entire city look like a city of light. A series of aircrafts and electric vehicles flew along fixed orbits in the air. From above, it looked like a series of glowing blood vessels. This was the blood vessels of Hu city. It was dreamy, dazzling, and mesmerizing. Lin, Dabai, and Najia couldn't help but admire the night scenery of Hu city. At this moment, a gentle and clear voice suddenly sounded. Long time no see, Lin. My singing just then was alright, right? Dongfang Shui wore a light green dress, and her hair draped down to her waist. She wore a pair of crescent moon earrings that shimmered with white light, and there was a warm smile on her beautiful face. She made her way over to him, and a fragrant aroma wafted through the air as she extended a slender hand. Lin caressed the soft, supple hair in front of him with a smile. It's not just okay, it's breathtaking. It's super beautiful. A smug expression flashed through Dongfang Shui's eyes, but she maintained a humble expression. Don't flatter me, I still have to improve. She patted Dabai's head in an affectionate manner as she spoke. You're just as adorable as ever, Big Sister Dongfang. Big Sister Dongfang, I've missed you so much, woof. Mini Dabai pounced into Dongfang Shue's arms and tried to rub himself against her chest, only to be slapped away by Tian Lingling. You're still the same. A leopard never changes its spots. Tian Lingling harumphed. Dongfang Shui didn't get angry. Instead, she merely smiled. No matter how much time had passed, she was still a woman who exuded a sense of antiquity and elegance. It was very difficult not to develop a good impression of her. Anlin, Tian Lingling, Dabai, Dongfang Shui, and Najia sat around a small round table, chatting and laughing as they enjoyed a sumptuous supper and looked down at the bustling night scenery. Anlin brought out the flower wine brewed by Little Gu from the Kingdom of the Nine States and shared it with everyone. This was the first time Tian Lingling, Dongfang Shui, and Najia had tasted such a sweet flower wine, and all of them were full of praise. Dongfang Shui even began to hum a folk song as she enjoyed the wine. These were a series of folk songs that she had composed in the past. They had never been released as singles, and she sang them for fun. Anlin was fortunate enough to attend her second concert, and it was the first night version. It felt great. After having supper, everyone flew toward a landmark in Hu City. The new Oriental Pearl was 88 meters tall, and it was the tallest building in the Hua Alliance. Its two balls, one large and one small, were embedded in the middle and top of the tower, emanating a gentle white light, as if they were two bright moons. They appeared holy and full of boundless hope. If a normal human were to climb to the very top of the Oriental Pearl, they would most likely suffer from oxygen deprivation. However, Anlin and the others landed on the top of the tower and looked down at the city below them. Chapter 1796. A frosty wind blew past. Dongfang Shui's inky black hair danced in the wind, and her light dress blossomed like a lotus flower in the night sky. She leaned on the railing, looking down at the brightly lit city below with a pair of gentle and beautiful eyes. Her pupils reflected a dazzling and colorful light. This place was bustling with activity. However, there was also a peculiar sense of isolation. It was as if she was situated in the middle of the bustling city, but at the same time, far away from it. Due to the frosty wind blowing past, Naja's red armband also danced in the wind, along with the two braids on the back of his head. This city is very modern. It reminds me of the cities of the Purple Star civilization. Perhaps the civilization on Earth will also reach that level one day, he said with a yearning expression. Purple Star civilization? What kind of civilization is that? Dongfang Shui turned to Anlin with a curious expression. Anlin explained, it's a civilization that has developed technology to the pinnacle. It was once so prosperous and developed to the extreme in terms of life technology, spatial technology, multidimensional technology, and even Dao technology. Bloodline modification, spatial shattering, spatial skipping, multidimensional development, cultivation, and artificial Dao integration stage. All of these were trivial things to them. At that time, the Purple Star civilization was the representative of the human race. Unfortunately, they enraged the heavens and their powerful civilization was destroyed in the blink of an eye. This battle between us and the heavenly human tribe was actually caused by that civilization. Dongfang Shui's face paled slightly upon hearing this. Tian Lingling's eyes widened with shock. Such a powerful civilization was destroyed in an instant? Are we fighting against such a powerful being? Najia heaved a forlorn sigh. There hasn't even been a heaven pioneer stage, heavenly human tribe cultivator on Earth, so they don't know just how terrifying the heavens are. If it weren't for Anlin, who turned the tide and broke through the two heavenly gates, the morale of the Kingdom of the Nine States United Army would have plummeted to an unimaginable level. Fake Taoist priest is that powerful? Tian Lingling was astonished again. Is this the first time you've seen my power? Anlin pinched Tian Lingling's delicate cheeks with a smile. Tian Lingling looked at Lin with a resentful expression. Seeing as you're trying to save the world, I'll let you take advantage of me just this once. Save the world? Please don't think that way. I just want to protect the people who are important to me. Lin felt that he couldn't shoulder the responsibility of saving the world. He wasn't mentally prepared for that. Dongfang Shui pointed at the dazzling lights down below. This city is so beautiful. I love this place, and I love this world, but I'm useless. I don't have the ability to protect it. She looked back at Lin and lowered her eyes. I'm too weak. I can't even imagine how strong the enemy is. I can't even imagine how high your combat level is, big sister Dongfang. Tian Lingling gripped her hand with a concerned expression. A smile appeared on Dongfang Shui's face, and her voice was still as clear as ever. But I can still sing here. I can dedicate my voice to this world. I can make this world a better place, and I can inspire more people to fight for this beauty. Perhaps this is my battle, my mission? She stared at Lin with her beautiful eyes. I hope I can make you remember this beauty, and make you want to protect it as well. Lin faltered upon hearing this. Dongfang Shui's eyes were filled with sincerity and purity, and the emotions conveyed through her eyes were very simple. She didn't know how to do much. She only hoped that her voice could make people want to protect this world even more strongly. Don't worry, Earth is my home. I can't just stand by and watch it be destroyed. Trust me, I'm very bad *SS, Lin vowed. Dongfang Shui looked at Lin with a gentle expression and nodded. I trust you. Whose city was a city that never slept. The lights of the city only gradually dimmed the next day. The sun rose. Lin sat on Dabai's back and began his journey to explore the cracks in the barrier. They first went to check out the largest cracks. Soul-piercing stage heavenly human tribe mighty figures could appear in those cracks, so they were extremely dangerous. After all, soul-piercing stage heavenly human tribe mighty figures could crush all beings below the return to void stage, and a few soul-piercing stage mighty figures could even hold their own against a return to void stage mighty figure. Deep within the Kunlun mountain ranges, amid a series of mountain ranges, there was a place that was shimmering with a white metallic light under the light of the sun. From afar, it looked like a vast expanse of silver light. However, upon closer inspection, one would discover to their astonishment that this was actually a series of mechas over a dozen meters tall. All of them had thick and powerful legs, nimble arms, and sturdy chests. Their chests were wide open, and there were cannons that could be adjusted at will. All of the mechas were equipped with portable nuclear fusion missiles, super electromagnetic cannons, plasma cannons, and other cutting-edge weapons. These were the most powerful mechas on Earth, and all of them were extremely expensive to construct, but they were also extremely powerful. After some testing, it was determined that these mechas were comparable in combat prowess to cultivators at the spirit-nurturing pinnacle stage. In terms of destructive power alone, they were even comparable to soul formation stage powerful beings. There were a total of 200 of these weapons gathered in this place. Aside from that, there was also a gargantuan inky black fortress behind the mechas. It was over 500 meters tall, and it stood on the ground like a pyramid. This was their mothership, a super battleship capable of both land, sea, and air. No wonder Qin Jingwu would say that the main force fighting against the heavenly human tribe was the military, not the cultivators. Just this alone was not something that a top-notch sect in the immortal cultivation world could possess. There were rows of silver mechas known as Hope, and they carried the hope of the human race. The super battleship that stood like a pyramid was known as Dawn. The sun gradually rose. Sunlight shone down upon the inky black fortress, but its surface defied the laws of physics as it reflected a warm, golden light. Not only that, but the golden light also extended outward, instantly transforming the entire fortress into a boundless golden fortress. It had become a true pyramid. No matter how many times I see the dawn under the sun, I can't help but praise it. To think that human intelligence could create such a beautiful object. A middle-aged woman in a white suit with her black hair coiled up high walked out of the simple prefab house. She had an ordinary appearance but exuded a sense of gentleness. She raised her head to look at the huge monster and said softly, "Teacher, you've played a huge part in allowing such a beautiful work of art to appear in this world." A man with golden hair and blue eyes appeared beside the woman with a smile on his face. The woman stared at the fortress with a slightly entranced expression. "It has yet to engage in battle. I hope that it will only be a beautiful work of art in this war." Chapter 1797. The middle-aged woman was one of the top scientists in the Hua Alliance, MOGA. She was conducting a series of research in the largest spatial rift that the Hua Alliance had discovered, with the main objective of repairing the spatial rift. The young man with golden hair and green eyes was her assistant, Derek. "Don't worry, teacher. With 200 Hope Mechas on standby, even if a soul-piercing stage heavenly human tribe general appears, we'll be able to kill him with our energy cannons. The Dawn battleship won't even have a chance to retaliate." A confident smile appeared on Derek's face. He had also participated in the design of the Hope Mechas, and he had high hopes for them. All of a sudden, the spatial rift in the distance tremored. 2 white silhouettes flew out from the crack at an extremely fast speed. However, the 200 silver mechas were even faster. In an instant, 10 of the mechas had their cannons aimed directly at the white silhouette. Beams of electromagnetic energy shot forth, tearing through the air and landing on the white silhouette's body at an extremely fast speed, exploding with terrifying lightning energy. Boom, boom, boom. After the earth-shattering explosion, there was nothing left in that place. The 2 white shadows had already been blown into ashes. Derek looked at the numbers on his watch before shaking his head with a smile. 2 arcane body stage heavenly human tribe powerful beings dare to enter the spatial rift? How reckless! The cultivators hiding in the forest unleashed bursts of vital energy fluctuations before quickly curbing them. Derek had also sensed this power. He was a member of the Genetic Alliance, and he had reached the extraordinary stage, which was equivalent to the spirit-nurturing stage. However, he shook his head with a disdainful expression. When have any of these cultivators ever succeeded? If they were here to protect Earth, Earth would have fallen long ago. "Don't be rude, Derek," Mo-Jia admonished. "We're all united to protect Earth, so we should show them some respect." Derek immediately lowered his head. "I just think that only science can elevate the entire human race. The power of cultivators is nothing compared to the entire human race." "You sigh." Mo-Jia shook her head in resignation. She didn't know what to say. This student of hers was very smart and powerful, but he was far too proud. He only respected things that he believed in, but he looked down on everything else. Mo-Jia couldn't deny what Derek said. In fact, she even agreed with him in her heart. Although the individual strength of a cultivator was strong, the threshold was too high, and cultivators with high cultivation were even rarer. How many soul formation cultivators were there in the entire Huatai Alliance? There were no more than 30 of them. But now, there were 200 Hope Mechas that were as powerful as soul formation stage mechas gathered in this Kunlun crack. How could they possibly compare? Although there was a Return to Void stage cultivator, and she didn't know what a Return to Void stage cultivator's full power looked like, it shouldn't be stronger than the Dawn fortress she designed. Let's continue to study the remains of the heavenly human tribe. Hopefully, we'll be able to discover something. Mo-Jia heaved a faint sigh before making her way toward the Temporary Research Institute. "Yes, teacher." Derek bowed slightly and followed behind Mo-Jia. There were remains of the heavenly human tribe within the temporary research facility, and some scientists were conducting all sorts of research on the heavenly human tribe, trying to unravel the secrets of this race. Buzz, 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 buzz. An ethereal buzzing sound suddenly came from the crack. Mo-Jia and Derek's expressions changed. That sound is. Derek took a deep breath. It's a sign that the heavenly human tribe is planning a massive invasion, Mo Jia said with a grave expression. At this moment, the alarm also sounded. All of the Hope mechas sprang into action. They knew that a massive battle was imminent. A while ago, a similar sign had appeared in the European Union's largest crack. As a result, a dozen or so soul-piercing stage heavenly human tribe powerful beings and over 100 arcane body stage heavenly human tribe powerful beings flew out of the crack at the same time. This terrifying force had crushed the European Union's frontline defense forces, and even an entire city was massacred by the heavenly human tribe powerful beings. Millions of civilians were either killed or wounded, and the tragedy shocked the entire world. In the end, the European Union had to use their strategic weapon, the cross-heavenly net, to slay all of the heavenly human tribe powerful beings, but the price they had to pay was unimaginable. We've gathered so much power this time, and we won't allow this tragedy to repeat itself. Mo Jia took a deep breath with a determined expression on her face. A powerful aura burst forth from the crack. All of the humans on the Kunlun mountain ranges sensed a paramount aura, as if a god had descended upon this world. All they could do was kneel and submit. Everyone, provide fire support. A general in a combat suit stood on the battle platform and shouted. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The silver mechas raised their right hands at the same time, and a series of inky black cannons were aimed at the crack. At this moment, a large number of white figures flew out from the crack. Fire. Boom 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 boom, brilliant light erupted from the cannons as a series of earth-shattering booms erupted. Pillars of blue plasma tore through the air before crashing into the crack, unleashing destructive plasma energy that destroyed everything around them. A dozen or so heavenly human tribe powerful beings didn't even have time to react, and their bodies were instantly reduced to tiny particles. However, the heavenly human tribe powerful beings that had emerged later on had defensive measures up their sleeve. They unleashed white light barriers that encapsulated their bodies to keep some of the power of the cannon fire at bay. Bursts of white holy light fell from the sky before crashing into the silver mechas, and the high-density energy caused the tough surfaces of the mechas to cave in and even melt. A particularly thick beam of holy light even caused a silver mecha to explode on the spot. Disperse. Everyone disperse. General Qin Xinghui issued an urgent command. The mechas fired their cannons at the same time. However, the heavenly human tribe powerful beings were not to be outdone, either. Bursts of pure white holy light with devastating power shot forth, all of which were either killed or severely wounded upon striking the silver mechas. As more and more heavenly human tribe powerful beings flew out from the crack, their retaliation also became more and more intense. A heavenly human with a golden barrier around his body spread his white wings and wielded a white light sword, which he was able to slice the oncoming plasma cannons in half with just a single slash. His body flashed through the air like a streak of white light, and he evaded the countless cannon blasts with agility. He waved his hand through the air, and a silver mecha with an alloy shell was sliced in half like a hot knife through butter. That's a soul-piercing stage heavenly human. Focus fire. Qin Xinghui was still issuing instructions in a loud voice. The battle became more and more intense, and one violent explosion after another flattened several nearby mountains. All of the non-combat researchers quickly retreated. Mo Jia's face paled slightly as she looked at the special star brain detector in her hand, which displayed the strength of the enemies and their numbers. 23 soul-piercing stage and 156 arcane body stage. The scale of this attack has already exceeded that of the European Union, and their numbers are still increasing. If things continue like this, our mechas won't be able to hold on. Rumble. The earth suddenly tremored violently. A series of inky black holes suddenly appeared on the surface of the triangular fortress, which was glowing with golden light. The Dawn battleship had finally been activated. Chapter 1798. Boom. A small mushroom cloud suddenly rose up from the heavenly human tribe's spatial rift. The Hope mechas unleashed miniature nuclear missiles, which twisted and warped the surrounding air as shock waves proliferated for several kilometers. 5 or 6 heavenly human tribe powerful beings died before they even had a chance to cry out. However, the 20 or so soul-piercing stage heavenly human tribe powerful beings instantly set up a joint defensive spell formation to keep most of the destructive energy at bay. This is a joint spell formation unique to the heavenly human tribe. Focus on one point and unleash a powerful attack. General Qin Xinghui stood on the battle platform and issued instructions in a loud voice. Whoosh! A white spear of light instantly punctured General Qin Xinghui's body. "You're too noisy," the soul-piercing stage heavenly human tribe powerful being said in an indifferent voice. "Prepare the Aurora Pulse formation." Qin Xinghui continued to issue instructions in a loud voice. The soul-piercing stage heavenly human tribe powerful being narrowed his eyes to discover that the powerful being standing on the battle platform was only a simulated life form constructed from particles of light. All of a sudden, gale-force winds swept forth. At the center of the pyramid fortress, a vortex of energy converged into a single point, from which dazzling golden light flashed like stars in the night sky. The high-density energy surging forth instantly congealed the surrounding space. "Stop it!" All of the soul-piercing stage heavenly humans materialized a pure white celestial sword over a kilometer in length outside the formation, which pierced toward the fortress like a bolt of lightning with a burst of ear-piercing screeching. Bam! The celestial sword struck a dark red eggshell-like energy barrier, upon which a sharp screeching sound erupted, but it was unable to pierce through the barrier. The quantum resonance light shield has kept the combined attack of the heavenly human tribe powerful beings at bay. Emojia clenched her fists with excitement as she looked on at the battle taking place in the distance. The Dawn battleship sure lives up to its reputation. Derek's eyes were also filled with a scorching light as he became even more determined in his heart. Right at this moment, the Aurora Pulse formation of the Dawn battleship had already been unleashed. The golden light left a dazzling trail in the air before crashing into the defensive spell formation set up by over 20 soul-piercing stage heavenly human tribe powerful beings, upon which the indestructible spell formation caved in before puncturing through it. Boom! The spell formation shattered. The 2 soul-piercing stage generals didn't even have a chance to react before the peculiar golden energy disintegrated their bodies into tens of thousands of cubes, which were then disintegrated again into hundreds of millions of cubes. Their extremely powerful life force was completely extinguished. "The enemy's defense mechanism has been broken. Attack with full force." Qin Xinghui had an agitated expression on his face as his voice reverberated throughout the entire world. More than 100 silver mechas roamed the mountains, their cannons roaring. A large number of inky black cannons extended from the surface of the Dawn battleship. There were at least 500 of them, and they unleashed a relentless barrage of cannon fire, each of which was capable of reducing an arcane body stage heavenly human to dust. Due to the massive influx of heavenly human tribe powerful beings, the heavenly human tribe army was slowly being overwhelmed. However, with the participation of the Dawn battleship, the situation was quickly reversed, and the heavenly human tribe powerful beings were successfully suppressed. The heavenly human tribe powerful beings flapped their wings and flew into the sky, trying to escape the barrage of attacks. A large group of silver mechas also rose up into the air and engaged in battle with the heavenly human tribe powerful beings in midair. Cannon fire erupted forth, and the super alloy energy sword slashed through the air in a series of dazzling trajectories. The silver mecha clashed head-on with an arcane body stage heavenly human, but it was not at a disadvantage. At this moment, the mecha looked more like an armored cultivator. Close to 200 arcane body stage heavenly human tribe powerful beings and over 20 soul-piercing stage heavenly human tribe powerful beings surged into the rift, followed by a large number of spirit-refining stage heavenly human tribe powerful beings. They were like foot soldiers. Even though they were very powerful, they posed little threat to the Hope Mechas. Even a few thousand of them wouldn't be enough to kill the human army. The cultivators scattered across the Kunlun Mountains also sprang into action, unleashing a series of powerful spell techniques to combat the heavenly human tribe powerful beings. Their overall power was even weaker than the silver mechas, so they could only serve as support. Of course, this didn't include the 6 soul formation stage Earth Immortals. Ever since Earth's environment had been upgraded, the number of soul formation stage Earth Immortals had increased significantly. These 6 soul formation stage Earth Immortals were able to slaughter arcane body stage heavenly human tribe powerful beings as if they were dogs. They unleashed their personal domains, and they could even put up a fight against soul-piercing stage heavenly human tribe powerful beings. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The heavenly human tribe powerful beings who had accidentally stumbled into an invisible domain suddenly had their heads detached from their bodies. Die, die, die. All those who intrude into my domain must die. Green River Sword Immortal charged forward with his sword, harvesting the heads of all enemies in a frenzy. In another direction, golden balls of light were exploding incessantly. A beautiful woman with curly golden hair, exquisite doll-like features, and a Lolita dress was wreaking havoc wherever she went. All heavenly human tribe powerful beings who were struck by the balls of light would wither and be reduced to black dust. All heavenly human tribe powerful beings who hadn't completely died would be killed by her spirit tool staff through the back of their necks. The light particle bomb fairy had already thought things through. Seeing as she couldn't sell her staff, she would just have to be a *T-stirrer. Bam! An inky black bullet tore through space and traveled for several dozen kilometers before tearing through the arcane body stage heavenly human tribe powerful beings protective holy light with unerring accuracy, puncturing his head and ending his life. An adorable man with a bit of baby fat lay prone on the summit of a mountain with a sniper rifle in his hand. 38. His name was the Taoist priest of the 6 paths, and he was a soul formation final stage Earth Immortal. At the same time, he was also a sharpshooter. The sniper rifle in his hand was a divine rifle that he had modified using a combination of technology and cultivation. It was known as the chicken-eating divine rifle, and it possessed extremely powerful penetrative abilities that could easily pierce through the defenses of the silver mechas. This is far from enough. If I want to eat chicken, I don't just want to fight to the end for glory. I want to step over the bodies of countless powerful beings before reaching the pinnacle of glory. The Taoist priest of the 6 paths murmured to himself as he quickly surveyed the battlefield with his sharp eyes before silently aiming his rifle at a soul-piercing stage heavenly human tribe general in the distance. Powerful beings. I want the blood of more powerful beings. You're the one. The Taoist priest of the 6 paths chuckled as he pulled out an inky black bullet, which he smeared with his highly toxic 6-god floral dew before looking through the scope of his sniper rifle and unleashing his domain. His domain was very special and allowed him to sense and influence his surroundings to the greatest extent. Energy fluctuation analysis complete. Temperature, humidity, wind power, gravitational force analysis complete. Trajectory analysis complete. Trajectory confirmed. Adjust, adjust, adjust. The Taoist priest of the 6 paths was extremely focused. At that moment, he was the Grim Reaper who ruled over the entire battlefield. He abruptly pulled the trigger after injecting all of his power into that single bullet. Boom! Shockwaves surged forth. The inky black bullet tore through the air, leaving a lethal trajectory in its wake. It was still constantly adjusting its trajectory based on the movements of the heavenly human tribe general. Die. The soul-piercing stage heavenly human tribe general sliced off the arm of one of the mechas and was just about to land the final blow when he suddenly sensed an energy rapidly approaching from afar. He had only just turned around to discover that the black dot had already torn through the air and was upon him. Bam! White blood splattered through the air. The heavenly human tribe general's headless body fell to the ground. The mecha operator who had thought that he was dead for sure stared blankly at the scenes unfolding before his eyes, unable to react. On the summit of a small mountain several dozen kilometers away, the Taoist priest of the Six Paths blew away the white smoke from his rifle with a faint smile. 39. Chapter 1799. Hang in there. We can win. Qin Xinghui encouraged the heavenly human tribe soldiers as they were slowly being overpowered. Over half of the silver mechas on the battlefield had already been destroyed, and over half of the heavenly human tribe had also been killed. However, the humans still had a strategic weapon, the Dawn battleship, which was completely unscathed. It continued to bombard the heavenly human tribe soldiers in the distance with its cannons, and even the soul-piercing stage heavenly human tribe generals were unable to withstand its attack. In the end, victory would definitely belong to the human race. Jesse, I have to find an opportunity to break through that battleship's defenses, a tall and slender female general with holy light enshrouding her body spoke. The male general with the dagger nodded. All right, I'll use a lightning bolt to see if I can break through the battleship's defenses. You support me and listen to me, bam! An explosion suddenly rang out. Jesse's entire face was splattered with white blood. He faltered momentarily at the sight of the headless corpse before turning toward the direction from which the bullet had come, upon which a dazzling holy light burst forth from his eyes. You dare to launch a sneak attack? The heavenly human tribe man gripped the air in front of him, and a burst of mighty power converged to form a ball of light in his palm before hurling it toward the summit of a mountain several dozen kilometers away. The Taoist priest of the Six Paths was just about to search for more prey when he immediately fled into the air upon seeing this. Boom! The ball of light crashed into the summit of the mountain, and destructive energy exploded forth, destroying everything in its path. In the blink of an eye, the entire mountain had been razed to the ground. Phew! That was close. Thank God I discovered it in time. Cold sweat began to appear on the Taoist priest of the Six Paths' chubby face as he patted his chest. This place has already become a bombing zone. We can't stay here any longer. We have to move. He descended into the forest and quickly began to move forward. The heavenly human tribe general, Jesse, soon lost sight of the Taoist priest of the Six Paths. At this moment, the pyramid-shaped battleship's cannons began to hurtle toward him again, slowing him down. When great General Qing Luo arrives, all of you will die. Jesse had an irritated expression on his face as he said unwillingly. At an observation point over 50 kilometers away, all of the researchers were observing and analyzing this battle. Soon, at this rate, we'll be able to annihilate all of the heavenly human tribe in less than 10 minutes. A white-haired old man said excitedly. We will create an unprecedented victory. Look at the war with the European Union, then look at our war. Our Hua Tai Kunlun Warzone will show the world what true strength is. Derek was filled with pride as he watched the battle in the distance. Emojia's focus was different from everyone else's. She had been paying attention to the thick crack. She didn't know if it was an illusion, but she felt as if the crack was getting bigger with every heavenly human that came out of it. She hesitated for a moment, but still said to the star brain on her wrist, General Qin Xinghui, please release the spiral ion dissolution zone on the crack. Are you sure? Even the Dawn Fortress can only release the cyclonic ion dissolution zone twice. Qin Xinghui's heavy and calm voice came from the star brain, his tone completely different from when he was on the battle command platform. There's something wrong with the crack. It's expanding at an abnormal speed, Emojia said. I understand, Qin Xinghui replied calmly. In the next instant, a black light suddenly flashed from the tip of the triangular body of the Dawn Fortress. Countless high-energy particles flew through the air, forming what appeared to be a black spiral cloud. Then, the Dawn Fortress launched the cloud as if it were a hand grenade. The cloud reached the crack in the blink of an eye before instantly dissolving and annihilating an area with a radius of over a kilometer. A few soul-piercing stage generals tried to destroy the cloud, but to no avail. It was as if it were an immortal black cloud that was fixed in place, dissolving and annihilating all things that came into contact with it. After that, several dozen more heavenly human tribe powerful beings flew out, but all of them couldn't even last a tenth of a second before they were completely disintegrated, leaving no trace behind. The cyclonic ion dissolution zone is the Dawn Fortress' most powerful weapon. Why are you using it here, teacher? Derek was perplexed. According to his understanding, the Dawn Fortress could easily bulldoze its way through the crack, so there was no need for such a powerful weapon. Mo Jia was just about to say something when an incredible sense of oppression suddenly enshrouded their bodies, making them tremble uncontrollably and find it difficult to even breathe. What's going on? Derek's teeth chattered as he turned toward a certain direction in the distance with astonishment etched on his face. He didn't even need to look at the screen to see the peerlessly mighty being. A white eastern dragon that was several kilometers in length squeezed out from the crack. Atop the dragon was a heavenly human tribe cultivator with a pair of pure golden eyes and a long robe with golden patterns all over his body. He slashed at the air with one hand, splitting the black mist that seemed capable of melting everything into two. The white heavenly dragon roared before stomping its claws violently toward the black cloud, dispersing the high-energy particles and completely destroying the cyclonic ion dissolution zone. Boom, 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 a torrent of cannon fire rained down upon the heavenly human tribe powerful being, encompassing every single area. However, all of the energy seemed to have struck an invisible barrier and exploded in front of the heavenly human tribe powerful being. He remained completely unscathed. How could this be? Derek stared blankly at the scenes unfolding before his eyes. Boom! A pillar of destructive golden light erupted from the center of the Dawn Fortress. Aurora Pulse Matrix. This was an ultimate killing technique that could instantly shatter the combined defenses of over 20 soul-piercing stage heavenly human tribe powerful beings. The heavenly human tribe powerful being's expression remained unchanged as he swept a hand through the air, upon which a white holy light enshrouded the surrounding area like a thin veil. Rumble, the destructive aurora pulse exploded, and the area covered by the golden light was decomposed into cubes. Moreover, it continued to decompose endlessly until it was annihilated. Even from afar, this attack struck fear into the hearts of onlookers. However, what was even more alarming was that such a powerful attack was unable to even break through the thin veil of white holy light. Great General Qing Luo. All of the heavenly human tribe powerful beings present bowed to the man. Qing Luo looked at the fortress in the distance with an expressionless expression. A civilization that can't even comprehend space has no idea what true power is. He slashed a finger through the air, upon which a streak of white light flashed through heaven and earth. Heaven and earth seemed to have fallen silent at that moment in the southern region of the Hua Nation. Bright and radiant sunlight. The waves were white and the beach was soft. Anlin and Najah stood at the front of the army and carefully inspected the crack before them. The crack was over a dozen meters wide and over 100 meters long, and it was a vast expanse of inky black darkness. Anlin wanted to extend his hand into the crack, only to be obstructed by a peculiar barrier. This was clearly a passageway exclusively used by the heavenly human tribe, and it repelled all other living beings. Can we break through it with brute force? If we forcibly break it open, wouldn't that create a huge mess? A hesitant expression appeared on Anlin's face. Right at this moment, a red light suddenly flashed from the starputer in his hand. An emergency signal? Anlin recalled what this signal represented. It seemed to be the highest-level distress signal from the government. He immediately turned on the starputer, upon which a line of text appeared, as well as a set of coordinates. The Kowloon battlefront is on the verge of collapse. Requesting all available reinforcements. Chapter 1800. The Dawn battleship was the strategic fortress of the Hua Alliance, one of the three major powers on Earth. It was the crystallization of countless cutting-edge military technologies and could easily destroy an entire nation, but it had been sliced in half by a single finger from Great General Qing Luo. The energy core of the Dawn battleship had also been sliced in half. The energy within the energy core went out of control, and the destructive power instantly destroyed the entire fortress. A mushroom cloud rose into the air, and heaven and earth tremored as flames soared into the sky, as if doomsday had arrived. Both the mecha operators and the scientists on the front line felt as if their faith had been completely shattered, and indescribable despair ensued. That male heavenly human must be a heaven pioneer stage cultivator to be referred to as a great general by the rest of the heavenly human tribe. This kind of power has already exceeded the limits of my imagination. Emojia's eyes were completely dejected. Impossible. The Dawn battleship is the most powerful weapon of our human race. How could it have been destroyed by a single attack? Derek shook his head as his eyes glazed over. The destruction of the Dawn battleship was like the most terrifying nightmare that haunted everyone's hearts. Daoist Six Paths had finally found a new sniping spot, but he didn't even know what to do anymore. If I try to sneak up on him, he'll probably be able to kill me with a single finger. F***ck. This was supposed to be a game of chicken, but now a celestial being has appeared? How am I supposed to play this game? Daoist Six Paths trembled uncontrollably. 3 silver mechas pounced toward Great General Qing Luo from different directions, and the particle swords imbued within them were capable of easily slicing through all metal objects. Roar. The white dragon beneath Qing Luo's feet suddenly roared. A peculiar sound wave instantly shattered the 3 mechas. The pilots of the mechas also bled to death from all of their orifices. These mechas couldn't even withstand a single roar, let alone a direct confrontation. It's over. It's all over. No one can stop him now. Derek shook his head with despair in his eyes. No, we still have the power of cultivators. The return to void stage cultivators of the Hua Nation haven't stepped in yet. Perhaps they have a way to deal with this great general. Emojia refused to give up. Even though she wasn't optimistic about the power of the cultivation world, she could only pin her hopes on these mysterious cultivators. Cultivators? Derek's lips twitched upon hearing this. I'm a core member of the American Genetic Alliance. Our alliance leader, Yuan, is known as the most genetically perfect human, and he's on the same level as the most powerful being in the East, Yumu. What about Marshal Qing Luo? With just a swipe of a finger, the Dawn Fortress exploded. Do I need to spell out the difference between them? Battleship of his attack. Derek's expression was one of defeat. He looked at Green Luo, who was constantly destroying the mechas, and it was as if he was watching the beginning of the apocalypse. No, how could a Heaven Pioneer stage great general be invincible? Even if a return to void stage cultivator can't stop him, our Earth still has a powerful backer. Emojia pursed her lips. Battleship of battleship. Islands. Derek battled. White heavenly swords appeared in the sky, hanging upside down. Of war tribe of time realm. Battleship great. Battleship. Demon of battleship. General Shan. Even Emojia, Derek, and the other researchers were caught up in the battle. This was a move that could truly destroy the heavens and earth. Is this the power of the heavens? A bitter expression appeared on Emojia's face. This was the first time she had experienced the weakness of humans. Great General Qing Luo looked at the despairing cultivators and soldiers and said calmly, "The birth of the human race was a mistake. To the heavens, you are trash, and trash should be removed. Now all of you can disappear." The celestial swords tremored before falling like rain. There was nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. Humans are trash? You don't have the right to say that. A voice suddenly reverberated through heaven and earth. A white light flashed. Before everyone had a chance to react, countless celestial swords had been reduced to ashes. A handsome man in a flowing white robe descended from the sky atop a huge Dubai dog, attracting everyone's attention. Unlin! Tears flowed from the light particle bomb fairy's eyes. Unlin! Green River Sword Immortal collapsed to the ground in exhaustion. There was a smile of relief on his face as he said, "I almost died here. Thank God I'm saved." Who's Unlin? Derek, who was living abroad, was a little confused. A glimmer of hope suddenly appeared in Emojia's eyes. So it's him. Perhaps we really can. One heavenly human tribe powerful being after another pounced toward the dog-riding man. All of a sudden, scorching flames fell from the sky, instantly incinerating all of the heavenly human tribe powerful beings into ashes. Najah broke through the clouds atop his wind flame wheels, with flames revolving around the tip of his spear. Great General Qing Luo stared at the dog-riding man flying toward him, upon which an expression of shock and horror appeared on his face for the first time. "You're Bam?" Unlin unleashed a palm. Space twisted as a dazzling light erupted. 1 second passed. Great General Qing Luo was reduced to dust. Peace and quiet suddenly returned to heaven and earth. Silence, deathly silence. Everyone's eyes widened as they stared blankly at the scenes unfolding before their eyes. The invincible Great General Qing Luo had just been slapped to death by Unlin with a single palm? Great General Qing Luo destroying a fortress with a single finger was already astonishing enough. But now Unlin had insta-killed Great General Qing Luo with a single palm. Even the cultivators who were aware of Unlin's identity felt like they were in a dream. They knew that Unlin was bad *SS, but they didn't know that he was this bad *SS. This level of power had already exceeded their imaginations. The Taoist priest of the Six Paths was also dumbstruck. "We were just talking about a celestial being, and now Master and has popped up? I don't understand this world at all." Derek was the most astonished of all. He had always looked down on cultivation, and he believed that at the very most, one could only reach the soul source stage. Only through the development of science would one be able to attain unlimited possibilities. But now Unlin had taught him a lesson. A human could also have limitless possibilities and reach a level that was unimaginable to him. At this moment, the image of a white-robed man riding atop a giant dog had been deeply engraved into everyone's mind. Unlin focused his gaze, and all of the remaining heavenly human tribe powerful beings exploded on the spot. His gaze could kill, everyone drew a sharp intake of breath. Bad *SS. Chapter 1801. Sigh, it's a pity that I was too late. A forlorn expression appeared on Unlin's face. He looked down at the corpses of cultivators, the shattered mechas, and the massive fortress that had been burned and melted. He hadn't been able to save any of this. Don't blame yourself, Unlin. We've already done our best. It only took us less than a minute to get here from the moment we received the news. Najah flew over to Unlin's side and looked down at the massive fissure on the ground with furrowed brows. Didn't the intelligence report say that this fissure can trap Heaven Pioneer stage heavenly human tribe mighty figures? Why would a Heaven Pioneer stage heavenly human tribe mighty figure appear now? Unlin was also quite concerned. A Heaven Pioneer stage Great General is equivalent to a mighty figure at the Return to Void Pinnacle stage. There's no power in the mortal world that can stop a Heaven Pioneer stage mighty figure like that. I should find some time to ask Nuwa about this. Dubai landed on the ground, and Unlin set up a powerful healing spell formation so that all of the wounded could be treated within it. Some of the injured mecha operators made their way into the healing spell formation to discover that their injuries were healing at a rate discernible to the naked eye. After just a few seconds, they were back to their peak condition, and they looked at Unlin with even more awe and veneration in their eyes. This was the true power of an immortal. Even though Earth's technology had developed to this day and their horizons had been greatly improved, they still found the scene before them incredible. Green River Sword Immortal, Light Particle Celestial Maiden, Cloud Exploring Taoist Priest, and the other cultivators all made their way over to express their gratitude. A young man with golden hair and blue eyes also made his way over to him with a respectful expression. Senior Lin, I'm Derek. May I ask what cultivation base you've reached, Senior? Lin blinked before replying with an honest expression, Return to Void Intermediate Stage. Boom. Derek stood rooted to the spot. How could this be? How could this be? A look of self-doubt appeared on his face. Great General Qing Luo had insta-killed the Dawn Fortress with a single sword strike, and Lin had slain Great General Qing Luo with a single palm. Didn't this mean that a return to Void Intermediate Stage cultivator was infinitely more powerful than the Dawn Fortress? Lin looked at the dejected Derek, who looked as if he had lost all of his faith. What's wrong? Are you all right? Okay. Derek nodded listlessly and staggered away. His bleak back made one's heart ache. Lin had a puzzled look on his face. After cleaning up the battlefield with the others, he began to focus his attention on the crack. After the heavenly human tribe was annihilated, no more heavenly human tribe members emerged from the crack. After this battle, the Hua Alliance military was shaken. They once again felt how terrifying the celestial race was. They began to mobilize, quickly replenishing the military strength stationed in Kunlun mountain range. The number of mechas on the Hope had increased to 500. 2 giant dawn fortresses shot blue gas through the clouds and landed on the ground, surrounding the crack from the front and back. This was all the emergency military power that the Huatai military could mobilize. There was also an airship that looked like a large fish hovering in the air. It was dark blue in color and more than 700 meters long, like a prehistoric whale. There were golden energy ripples at the bottom of the airship, spreading out like ripples into the void, quietly hovering in the air. That was the strategic flagship of Japan, and it had been urgently sent over. Great General Chen Jinghua also arrived in person to express his gratitude to Lin for his timely rescue. Sigh. If only they had immediately asked you for help when the heavenly human tribe attacked. Chen Jinghua's expression was filled with rage and guilt. They were far too arrogant. They thought they could handle the situation on their own and only notified you when something happened to the Dawn Fortresses. It's not their fault. We didn't expect a Heaven Pioneer Stage Great General to appear on Earth either, Lin said. Does Earth have a way to deal with a Heaven Pioneer Stage Great General? Chen Jinghua asked. Lin shook his head and heaved a sigh. A Heaven Pioneer Stage Great General can use spatial powers and other types of powers of the heavens. If you don't have a way to break through space, you won't even be able to hurt him. Chen Jinghua's expression was filled with concern. Sigh, we humans are still too weak. The only way is to summon Big Brother, and as soon as we encounter a Heaven Pioneer Stage Great General, woof. Dabai stuck out his tongue. Lin, well. Chen Jinghua turned to Lin with a slightly sheepish expression. Don't worry, I'll be free during this period of time. I won't be leaving until I take care of the spatial crack on Earth, Lin said with a smile. This pillar of the Hua Alliance military extended a grateful salute to Lin. Thank you for your support, War God Lin. I thank you on behalf of all humans on Earth. Lin hurriedly helped him up. You're far too kind, General Chen. This is my home. On the Blue Whale airship, a petite figure descended from the sky. A woman in a red and white witch robe descended from the sky. She had a well-proportioned figure, extremely intricate features, and her long black hair was tied up with a red string. She held an inky black katana in her hand and stood before Lin. Junior Ing Luoqing pays her respects to Senior Lin. The witch's voice was soft and mellow as she extended a respectful salute to Lin. Chen Jinghua immediately made an introduction upon seeing this. Ing Luoqing possesses the spiritual body and is a rare prodigy among the Japanese witches. At the same time, she is also the representative of the Japanese cultivation world. Unlin's expression remained unchanged as he nodded. Hello. He had never even heard of a spiritual body. Even a once-in-a-thousand-years beauty was already like this, so how could this once-in-a-thousand-years cultivator be like this? He was just a soul formation final stage cultivator anyway, so he wasn't worthy of his attention. Ing Luoqing was not displeased by Unlin's cold attitude. Instead, she couldn't help but sneak glances at him with her bright black eyes. She had heard that a terrifying being that could insta-kill the Dawn battleship was unable to withstand a single attack from this man. What kind of power was this? The Japanese were a race that revered powerful beings, and a man as ridiculously powerful as Unlin was extremely alluring to her. Senior Unlin, I am the representative of the Japanese cultivation world. If you want to mobilize our forces, feel free to let me know. Ing Luoqing spoke in fluent Mandarin. Her voice was still cold and aloof, and she was trying to repress the agitation in her heart. Unlin was quite intrigued to hear this. Oh? Ing, how many cultivators does the Japanese have? Ing? Ing Luoqing faltered initially before a blush appeared on her face, but she still forced herself to remain calm. I currently have 5 soul formation stage cultivators, 22 spirit nurturing stage cultivators, 100 high-rank Dao body stage cultivators, and over 600 low-rank Dao body stage cultivators at my disposal. Unlin nodded with a thoughtful expression. This lineup, it wasn't even enough for him to slap her in the face. Alright, I understand. I'll let you know when I need your help. You can go now, Unlin said with a warm smile. Yes. Ing Luoqing retreated with a hint of disappointment in her eyes. Chapter 1802. Unlin reported what had happened on Earth to the Celestial Court. At the same time, he also told White Spirit Snake and Black Spirit Snake about what had happened on Earth. Black Spirit Snake told him that she would immediately inform Nuwa of the situation and ask him to stabilize the situation on Earth. And Mingchuan and some of his friends were all on Earth, so Unlin was naturally not going to leave them, so he immediately agreed. If worst came to worst, he would have to send them to the 4-9 Immortal sect. Peace and quiet resumed. Of course, this was only because his life had returned to normal. After this incident, the higher-ups of the Earth United Army were extremely panicked as they discovered that they had lost the ability to protect themselves. The technological prowess that they were so proud of had been completely obliterated in the face of the heavenly human tribe great generals. This was an extremely heavy blow to their morale. The impact of this battle was no less than that of the fall of the European Union. On the Kowloon battlefront, the daylight lantern hung high in the night sky, illuminating the surrounding area. An electromagnetic defense net enshrouded an area with a radius of over 500 kilometers. Not even a mosquito would be able to trespass into this restricted area. Unlin, Dabai, and Najah, the 3 immortal ambassadors of the Celestial Court, were squatting beside the crack with solemn expressions. Unlin, hurry up and kill this Najah for me. He's too fat, we have to kill him first. Woof. Dabai's claws transformed into afterimages as he slammed them into the holographic screen before him. On the screen, True Lord Erlang threw up mouthfuls of blood from Najah's attacks. Don't worry, I'm coming. Unlin manipulated the image of Chang'e, who was countless times uglier than the Chang'e in his mind, and he swung his heavenly blades relentlessly toward the agile Najah. Hee, you think you can do that? Trash. Najah chuckled coldly as he slammed his fingers onto the keyboard. On the screen, Najah brandished his terrifying fire-tipped spear and stabbed it. Splat. True Lord Erlang and Chang'e were both stabbed to death. The word failure appeared on Dabai and Unlin's screens. On Nez's screen, the words, God of War of the Celestial Court, appeared. Ha ha ha, the God of War of the Celestial Court is mine. Najah laughed and felt proud. This was the 100 Immortals battle mode in the Celestial Court. Whoever survived to the end would be the god of war of the Celestial Court. Neza had killed too many people in the beginning, so he became too fat in the end. Dabai and Enlin couldn't stop him even if they worked together. Enlin's face darkened as he closed the game. I'm not playing anymore. What a trashy game. I can't accept this. Neja, let's continue, woof. Dabai was unwilling to give up. He was the one who started the game first. Why did Neja become stronger than him? Neja saw that his Neja character achieved 46 consecutive victories in just one day and reached the top of the Heavenly Court's Celestial Stairway leaderboard. He smiled confidently. Sure, come at me if you're not convinced. The players playing the Celestial Court Immortal Battle Mode would never know whether they were playing a human or a god. Senior Enlin, if you think this game is too boring, I can play something fun with you. A cold and mellow voice sounded from behind him. Enlin turned around with curiosity to discover Ing Luoqing in a pristine white blouse, a red skirt and wooden clogs. She had her hands clasped behind her back and was smiling at him in a gentle manner. Ing Luoqing's outfit was very simple, but it gave off a sense of purity and mystery. You want to play something fun with me? What is it? Enlin was a little curious. Ing Luoqing looked around before latching onto Enlin's hand with a soft voice. This isn't a good place. Let's go over there. She dragged Enlin to her private campsite as she spoke. Dabai and Neza pressed their starputer watches in silence. I'm suddenly feeling a little uncomfortable, Neza said. Why was it that only Enlin had a date with such a beautiful and adorable girl while they were playing games here? Dabai pulled out a shimmering golden rice ball from his storage ring. This is my homemade dog food. Just eat one, woof. Neza was a little skeptical as he ate a rice ball. As a result, all of the unhappiness in his heart disappeared, and he became very happy. Haha, women are nothing. Come on, let's continue the game. Neza chortled with glee. Let's continue, woof. Dabai stuck out his tongue with a smile. Within a tent at a private campsite, gentle candlelight flickered in the air, enshrouding the entire tent in a gentle yellow hue. There were some simple daily necessities laid out casually, and there was an adorable bed to the left of the entrance with a pink blanket thrown open. There was also a refreshing fragrance wafting through the air, which was very similar to Ing Luoqing's body scent, giving one a very comfortable and eager feeling. Why did you bring me here? Why do you have to avoid other people? Enlin asked with a perplexed expression. Enlin-san, I've already set up a spell formation here that can isolate us from the outside world. Ing Luoqing approached Enlin, and her lips opened and closed like pink flower petals as she exhaled a fragrant scent. So, Enlin could sense that the spell formation Ing Luoqing had set up could be broken with a single sneeze. A faint blush appeared on Ing Luoqing's flawless features, and she scolded, Enlin-san really likes to play dumb. So, we can play a fun game now. She suddenly extended a hand and untied the red sash around her slender waist. The red and white dress was affected by the gravitational pull, and it fell off along her pristine white skin, revealing her exquisite body. Enlin was dumbstruck. Ing Luoqing wasn't wearing anything underneath her clothes. No, that wasn't the point. The point was, why was she taking off her clothes? Enlin-san. Ing Luoqing murmured in a gentle voice as she strode forward with her well-proportioned legs. Her skin glowed with an alluring luster under the candlelight, and it was smooth and supple without a single trace of excess flesh. Enlin was given a fright, and he instinctively pushed Ing Luoqing away at the sight of her trying to take off his clothes. As for accidentally pressing down on any sensitive areas, that was not something that he could react to in time. Ing Luoqing didn't expect Enlin to push her away, and she was unable to react in time before she was pushed to the ground. She faltered momentarily before a blush appeared on her face. Could it be? Enlin-san likes this? With that said, she really was like a delicate young girl who could be easily pushed down, lying on the ground. Enlin, A gust of wind blew past, and the witch dress draped itself over her body again. Ing Luoqing was quite taken aback, and she bit down on her lower lip as she looked into Enlin's enraged eyes. Enlin-san, are you afraid that I'm not clean? Don't worry, no one has touched me before you. Enlin's flesh crawled as he waved a hand. He looked down at the exquisite young woman on the ground. What are you doing? I don't think I'm attractive enough for you to throw yourself at me. No, this isn't just throwing herself at me, this is already. Enlin gritted his teeth as he looked at the soft, supple skin peeking out from beneath the witch dress. This is the first time we've met. In all of his life, this was the first time he had encountered something like this. Even the Japanese action movies he watched a long time ago didn't have such bizarre plot development. Enlin knew that Ing Luoqing bore no ill will toward him. If she had, she would have already been reduced to a pile of ashes. So that's what you're curious about. I knew my charm wasn't low enough for you to throw yourself at me, only to be rejected. Ing Luoqing heaved a sigh of relief. She looked at Enlin with a blush on her face. I have a spiritual body that only appears once every 1,000 years in the Japanese witch tribe. If I mate with a powerful being, I may be able to break through the final shackles and reach the return to void stage. Enlin, you are the most powerful man I have ever seen, and I am willing to give my first time to you. That's the reason? Enlin was astonished. Ing Luoqing nodded with a blush on her face. That's right, so Enlin-san, don't King take advantage of me. Enlin roared. Boom. Ing Luoqing's body shuddered, as if she had just witnessed the wrath of a heavenly god. That kind of supreme and imposing aura made her tremble uncontrollably, and an unknown liquid unconsciously flowed down her lower body. When Ing Luoqing came to her senses, she discovered that the room was completely empty.